For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
Let's go!
ABC Wednesday, country music's biggest night, the CMA Awards. Kicks off with this year's must-see collaboration, Post Malone featuring Chris Stapleton live. With electrifying performances by Lainey Wilson, Shabuzi, Ashley McBride, Luke Bryan, plus Thomas Rhett and Teddy Swims. Woo! Luke Bryan, Peyton Manning, and Lainey Wilson host the CMA Awards live Wednesday, 8, 7 Central on ABC and stream next day on Hulu.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
Hey, mister! I don't mean to be telling tales out of school, but there's a feller in there who'll pay you $10 if you sing into his can. I'm not here to make a record, you dumb cracker. They broadcast me out on the radio.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program. Should be a fun Monday show here. Big show. And before we really get into the show, I want to get a little thing off my chest. This will come out tomorrow as my op-ed for 1819news.com. Be out there if you're part of the newsletter at 5:30 in the morning. But, it's not titles that honor men, but men who honor titles. Just some old school hardball political philosophy. And, as I was watching the Mike Tyson fight, I thought of this. Just as Mike Tyson flashed his backside, hyping his fight last Friday night, Governor Kay Ivey showed hers to the people of Alabama when she picked a fight with Kent Davis and the State Board of Veterans Affairs. But that's not the only thing Tyson and Ivey have in common. By braving the limelight of the ring one last time, Tyson tripped a tragic trick time plays on all of us. That he is Mike Tyson in name only now, a shadow of his younger self, with a legacy fated to fade into dust. I'm just passing through. I'm going to die, and it's going to be over, Tyson hilariously told a child reporter after being asked about his legacy. Who cares about legacy after that? We're dead. We're dust. We're absolutely nothing. Our legacy is nothing. Though the mantle of Iron Mike, to give him a little more credit than Tyson wants to give himself, that mantle of Iron Mike will always be Tyson's to wear proudly. His recent return to the ring serves as a haunting reminder that the title does not make the man. Woe to those who flaunt their mantle past their prime, else they expose themselves for who they really are in the light of what they're supposed to be. For example, when Kay Ivey decided to brandish her mantle of supreme executive power to unilaterally fire Kent Davis as commissioner of the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, she merely revealed herself to be anything but a supreme executive. Why use such executive power now when there was ample opportunity to do so in years past? The firing of Davis was so petty and vindictive, so desperate and reactive, so shoddily and vaguely reasoned, that it seemed more a hodgepodge product of a behind-the-scenes committee rather than the singular vision of an executive leader. Whether or not the governor has supreme executive power in Alabama will be for lawyers and courts to decide in the near future. Though I personally find the idea of an empowered supreme executive to be quite invigorating, I would prefer an actual executive worthy and able of honoring such a title. Yet the more I consider the supreme executive power of the governor's office, the more difficult it is for me to shake the thought that Ivy is a governor in name only, a gyno, a shadow of those who honored the title in years past, all as her quote-unquote office runs the show. Who is actually wielding supreme executive authority in the state of Alabama? Who is actually running the governor's office? Who is actually running the state? I ask because the more I ponder these questions, the more I suspect Gyno Ivy ain't the one in charge. Who really believes that someone you wouldn't trust to drive you down I-65 to the airport is really able to carry the mantle of supreme executive power of the state of Alabama? It's absurd, it's insulting, it's not believable. No doubt, power does love to hide its true face. Very few who officially claim to be in charge are actually in charge. There's almost always a power behind the throne, as people who could never win an election themselves manage to gain immense power by serving in the name of those who can. Much political power can be found in the shadows, hidden away from the limelight of politics. In fact, the hidden use of power is often much more effective than any formal flaunting of authority. Less risky, less costly, less conspicuous. On the contrary, formal authority, butt naked to the world, as Ivy's office flaunted in firing Davis, is always a risky display. Risky because it brings extra attention and scrutiny to those putting on the exhibition. When power is laid bare, people tend to squint a little more at who is claiming to hold the keys to the kingdom. Many Alabamians, especially veterans, are squinting a little bit more at the governor's office right now. They're wondering whether Ivy actually honors the title given to her by Alabamians, or if she is merely a governor in name only, chasing the dust of legacy in the political ring one last time, way past her prime. Like I said, I needed to get something off my chest. And those are my words, my opinion, but this latest controversy brought that to my mind. And joining us now, we actually promised this last week, and he's here now in front of us. We have now the former commission, the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs. We have Admiral Kent Davis. Kent, how are you today, sir?
Joey, I'm great. It's so great to be with you today.
Good to see you. So here's how I want to start this off with kind of like what you've done for the state and the work y'all did there at Veterans Affairs. So you come in at the early 2019.
Right.
And so what was the state of things and the service to veterans at that time? And what were some of the changes, some things y'all accomplished over the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, thanks, Joey. So let me clarify up front. People get confused, including veterans all the time. What's the difference between the federal VA and the state VA? So a lot of people have the misconception that I, as commissioner, controlled the VA medical centers and outpatient clinics, and I didn't. I see commentary all the time on social media and elsewhere. There are several roles that the state departments of Veterans Affairs have. They are in charge of long-term care of veterans through the state veterans home system. They also operate veteran service offices free of charge across the nation to assist veterans with anything veteran related. They provide cemetery services in conjunction with the federal VA, offer scholarship programs in Alabama, specifically a scholarship for dependents of disabled veterans. And increasingly, which we weren't doing, they're involved in veteran well-being programs, especially things like the tragedy of veteran suicides, which Alabama has a very high rate. So if you go back 6 years ago, there was a lot of room for improvement, frankly. We had the longest waiting list in the country amongst all the states to get into our state veterans' homes. That's not acceptable. I mean, we had wait times of 1.5 years for elderly and disabled veterans to get into our state veterans home system in the state of Alabama. The state over the last 20 years had actually closed 17 veteran service offices around the state. So there were 17 counties that did not have a veteran service office. Those counties tended to be in the poorer, more rural areas of the state that are often the most in need of immediate close by services.
Right.
We had a fairly new state veteran cemetery down in Spanish Fort, but frankly, it was starting to run out of space. You look at cemetery services over about a 10 to 20 year forecast, and we really were in need of planning for expansion and more geographic services, because the national goal is to have a veteran cemetery within 75 miles of every veteran in the country. We're pretty close in meeting that nationwide. Alabama is not. We have some geographic holes. There need to be some strategic planning. In information technology and just getting into the standards of the 21st century, we're behind the times too. For instance, our scholarship program was a 75-year-old paper-based application system that was outmoded. It was inefficient. So here's what we did over the last 5.5 years. We arranged federal grant money and state funding to build a brand new state veterans home down in Enterprise, Alabama, which just opened 2 months ago. The Command Sergeant Major Benny G. Atkins home, to alleviate some of that waiting list to get into our state veterans home. State-of-the-art home that people have raved about. We've gotten national accolades for seeing that project through. Think about what has happened over the last 6 years too. We had to do a lot of the planning for that and even tweak the planning because of COVID massively. And it also increased the cost. But we brought that project in on budget and on schedule, and it opened 2 months ago. So an improvement in the state veterans home system. And we worked a lot with the local officials. Enterprise was great, Coffee County, those officials. Secondly, believe it or not, in the last 4 to 5 years, we have opened 12 new veteran service offices around the state. And we are rapidly moving toward getting back in every single county in Alabama. There's 67 counties. I believe we're in 61 of those counties now with 62 offices. There are 2 in Jefferson County. But plans to move forward that. In fact, we were in negotiations to open up a new office in Colbert County when I left about a month ago, less than a month ago. So that was another improvement. We formed a brand new, completely from scratch, Office of Outreach and Engagement. Got permission to hire a new assistant commissioner for outreach and engagement to form partnerships with the federal VA. Our partnerships and cooperation with other organizations was frankly lacking. I think everybody's admitted, yeah, we were kind of in a silo. Everybody was happy with the status quo, kind of the typical government bureaucracy. I just want to do the job assigned to me in my silo and don't ask me to get out of my silo. We changed that completely. And now that department is working with public and private sector partners like never before, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, other agencies on a daily basis, because government cannot and should not do it all. You've got to have partners. And a lot of the services provided to veterans are out in the private sector doing great work. And that's kind of been my theme, that we need to help them, support them, and work with them on a daily basis. We also arranged federal grant money to expand the state veteran cemetery down in Spanish Fort, and we forged partnerships with the federal VA cemeteries in Alabama and Montevallo and Fort Mitchell to make sure that we were getting the families of deceased veterans those final services as veterans, burial services. Earlier in 2024, we completed a major expansion of the state veterans cemetery down in Spanish Fort that'll get us through the next 10 years. So a lot of strategic planning, a lot of plans that came to fruition over the last 5.5 years. And I will tell you, a lot of accolades. I have been told in the last couple of weeks that the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs passed 2 major inspections, one on the cemetery, and that's important because that cemetery operates on federal grant dollars, and you have to pass those inspections. We worked on that inspection for many months. And then I was also told just yesterday that our brand new state veterans home down in Enterprise passed their first major federal VA inspection. That was not a guarantee, because a lot of brand new state veterans homes across the country, in fact, the majority of them do not pass that first inspection. So that's a feather in that department's cap. And I salute my former colleagues in that department for those actions over just the last couple of weeks alone. So a lot of improvements. I'm proud of that. I'm more proud of the team we had and the great, just salt of the earth people that work in the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs. Most of them are veterans themselves, so they have a connection with their clientele, unlike most organizations and most clients, especially in government. They have that personal connection with them, and I'm really proud of that.
And I asked you that because just listening to you, and that's a lot. That's a lot accomplished. It sounds like there's more to be done, and you were ready to see it. You could see the next year ahead, if not more. And it sounds like you're still commissioner. Of course, you're not.
I'm not.
So why aren't you commissioner anymore?
Oh, wow. That's a long, long story, apparently. It's needless to say, it's been an interesting couple of months. So this whole issue raises, you pointed out in your opening comments, it raises some fundamental issues, but I'll get to the specifics and the facts here in just a moment. It raises fundamental issues of the extent of executive power. We live in a constitutional republic with limited powers. It also raises issues of separation of powers. There is a statutory scheme in black and white letter law in the Alabama Code about how the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs is hired and how that commissioner can be terminated for cause only by the State Board of Veterans Affairs. And that was decided by the legislature. So it raises important questions about separation of powers and the extent of executive power to exercise unilateral action. More fundamentally, it raises a question of how do we treat our veterans in Alabama? It is a shared responsibility between the federal government and the state governments to take care of veterans. Now, look, I tend to be a limited government kind of guy, but I think one of the fundamental functions of government is fighting wars, but that also includes taking care of those veterans when the wars are over, because the war does not stop. I know this sounds trite. The war does not stop when the shooting ends. We are still taking care of World War II veterans who suffered physically and sometimes mentally from those wars. I do think there's room for improvement in Alabama. When I look at fellow states around the country, there's some things we could be doing. Now, over the last 5 years especially, I pushed for some of those improvements, and I'm sure I ruffled some feathers, because one thing I found out, politics can be let's just say an interesting game.
Sure.
And you do not readily criticize politics and politicians in Alabama sometimes without there being some retribution. So do I think there's a little bit of that going on? You betcha.
Okay.
And it's happened over the last 5 years. I've had politicians try to go after me. And in the end, the facts did win out. This time, I don't think the facts won out, unfortunately.
So getting to some of those facts, and again, folks, we're talking to Kent Davis, the former commissioner of Veterans Affairs here in Alabama. So the official reason given, and again, I never understood the specifics, was that you mishandled ARPA funds. Did you mishandle ARPA?
Absolutely not. I think that's fundamentally false. I think it's demonstrably false. In fact, just the opposite. I think I and the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs went out of the way. I do think mistakes were made elsewhere. I don't think they were nefariously done. I think sometimes there were innocent mistakes made that we tried to pick up the pieces and fix the whole problem that was created. And I can even go through the timeline about how this all started. It started way back in 2022. Actually, before that, let me go back to one of the fundamental issues that I mentioned. We have a real problem in Alabama with veterans' mental health.
Yes.
It's a serious, serious problem. You look at the statistics, they bear it out. We have perennially one of the worst veteran suicide rates in the country. We're usually worst or second worst in the country. That's not acceptable. Secondly, we have horrible opioid addiction rates. And you look at all of the other issues that are measures of veterans' mental health. It's shameful. It is a shared responsibility between the federal government and the states. Now, mental health for veterans is predominantly the role of the federal VA. Now, I don't control physical and mental health in the federal VA. As commissioner, I should say. But it is a partnership. I am a little bit of a defender of the federal VA. So you and I were talking about this. I'm actually a patient of the federal VA. Last year, I had stage 3 cancer. The care I've gotten there, I've been pleased with, and they've gotten better. But by their own admission, my friends and colleagues who I respect completely in the federal VA, they admit they cannot keep up with the mental health needs of the nation, especially in Alabama. And here's why. For some reason, we don't have enough mental health providers in Alabama. It's a real problem. We traditionally rank at the bottom in availability of mental health providers in the state of Alabama amongst the 50 states. Now, why is that important? The federal VA is shorthanded when it comes to mental health providers. They do have a wonderful tool called the Mission Act, which is a federal act that allows the federal VA to refer veterans out for community care with private sector providers. The problem is there's just not enough mental health providers in the state to fill that need, in my humble opinion. There are even fewer tailored services for veterans, and we know that there are some issues and factors that are disproportionately found in the veteran community. Some are obvious. Most people are familiar with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and we're finding more and more that traumatic brain injury with veterans does not always occur from a major concussion to the head. Plenty of studies over the past few years about minor concussive effects building up over years that way disproportionately affect the military. So you've got all those underlying problems and a horrible suicide rate. And literally, we were seeing wait times of weeks or months sometimes for veterans to get mental health care. So for about 5 years, I've been begging and pleading, we've got to do better in Alabama to help with this issue. The way to do that is you empower some of those private sector organizations that are doing great things, and there are some great programs. When you look across the myriad of things, there are things as diverse as the veteran treatment courts in Alabama that often deal with mental health issues for veterans. They're great programs, low recidivism rates, great success. More importantly, there are some especially nonprofit and faith-based organizations and institutions of higher education that have some great programs for veterans. They just tend to be underfunded, lack of assets. So for a long time, we asked, can we help those organizations, either through grants or contracts, to get the money where it needs to go? These are proven programs with track records. They just need help in those programs. We started that push a long time ago. Now, I have a habit of saying I won't disparage anyone by name, but I will praise people by name. And there were some legislators that helped with that, and I will call out to them on both sides of the aisle. Representative Neil Rafferty up in Birmingham, a Democrat, helped us out by about 5 years ago or so, helped us form a program called Alabama's Challenge to combat veteran suicides, which is made up of a lot of partners that's done some good work. In fact, if you've driven up and down I-65 recently, he and Representative Kenneth Pascal, a Republican, helped get some seed money to fund a billboard campaign to advertise the Veterans Crisis Line. I was driving down I-65 just the other day, and every few miles there's a billboard that advertises that 988 Veterans Crisis Line. That was an effort that sprung from Alabama's Challenge. So that was a good thing. One little minor tool, though. About 3 years ago, we started having conversations politely with the legislature because we knew that Alabama was suddenly getting a lot of money. There was a lot of post-COVID federal money coming down the pike. We knew that the Attorney General had done a great job in getting opioid settlement dollars. And Attorney General Marshall, I think, has done a good job. Alabama is slated to get, I think, over $800 million in opioid settlement funds. That was another source. There were a couple of legislators that worked with us and others, Senator Andrew Jones and Representative Chip Brown, who expressed willingness. In fact, Chip Brown in early 2024 called me over to his office and said he wanted to introduce legislation to basically create a veterans mental health care system in the state of Alabama, independent system, kind of like the Department of Corrections does. They have their own independent mental health system. And the idea that there is it would be a tailored system for veterans and their unique needs. So all of that was going on. Well, about 3 years ago, here's where the confusion started. We were notified by the legislature sometime in 2022, I believe, that they were going to give us grant money to fund a grant program to assist veterans with mental health. Wasn't a lot of money, $353,000. Now, with all of the money coming to Alabama, I thought, well, it's a start. $353,000 won't go very far, but we'll take it.
Sure.
So we started going through the motions of putting together a process that was objective, fair, full and open competition. My bosses, the State Board of Veterans Affairs at the time, put together a grant committee to oversee the distribution of that $353,000. Well, here's where pretty typical Alabama politics gets involved. After we put together that whole scheme and had a plan to pick grant recipients and distribute that relatively small sum of money. Now, to you and me, $350,000 is a lot, but
Right.
when you're distributing to dozens of nonprofits, that's not going to go very far. But we had a plan. And then we were notified all of a sudden, we were called by a nonprofit and said, hey, where's our $353,000? Literally. And we said, what are you talking about? And they said, that money was supposed to be earmarked for us. And our general counsel said, well, that's not what the legislation says. It says it's $353,000 for a generic supporting Alabama's Veterans Grant Program. So we checked with the legislature, with the governor's office, and we're indeed told, oops, yeah, that money was supposed to be earmarked for one particular nonprofit organization, which we were fine with. The way it works legally is an agency cannot pass money and dole money out to a private sector organization without a specific line item authorization from the legislature.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
I don't want agencies just willy-nilly handing out money, especially with cronyism and things like that. So we reached out to the legislature and said, we need clarification. We're being told that this was supposed to be earmarked for one organization. The chairs of the appropriations committees came back to us and said, yes, sorry for the confusion. That money was supposed to go to that one particular nonprofit. We were fine with that. Typically in the budget, the annual budget for the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, there are earmarks to some great organizations. For instance, just about every year, there was a pass-through for disabled American veterans for transportation programs to get veterans to their VA appointments. Great programs, and many others. And we never took a penny of those. Some agencies take an administrative fee. We said, that's a complete pass-through. We won't take a penny out of that. And we've done that for years. But in this case, there was no line item earmarking. So the chairs of the appropriation committee said, we'll write you a letter that we'll sign saying that money was supposed to go to that. Checked with the governor's legal counsel. They said, okay, give them the money. So we did. So that ended that grant program. To their credit, our contacts in the legislature said, gosh, we're really sorry for the confusion. So the next tranche of big money that was coming out was something called the Federal American Rescue Act Plan, or ARPA. That was the acronym because we love acronyms. And in November of 2022, we were notified there was $7 million available for that grant program supporting Alabama's veterans. And we said, we're going to use the same scheme. The State Board of Veterans Affairs said, we've got a grant committee. We'll just use the same procedures that we already put in place. So that was not all for naught. We've got a scheme now. Here's the next problem. Sometimes the road to Hades is paved with good intentions. Not understanding our organization and how we work, that money was inadvertently earmarked for $7 million for mental health programs in the state veterans' homes. Because I think someone thought that those state veterans' homes were a generic health care program for all veterans in the state, not understanding their long-term care facilities, their nursing homes run by a contractor. We already have social workers in those homes. We can't spend $7 million there. It would be a waste of the taxpayer dollars. So we were pushing back politely saying it's not ethical for us to take $7 million for the state veterans homes. We've already gotten COVID relief money to get them through that crisis. So for months, we were negotiating with the legislature and the Department of Finance saying, we can't ethically do this. We can't spend $7 million of ARPA money in the state veterans home system. Now, one reporter in particular made the allegation, oh, we had $7 million and we sat on it for months after months, weren't doing anything, frittering it away. No, that's not true at all. We were trying to be completely ethical and above board and pushing back, saying, can't spend that money in the state veterans home. Finally, months later, that earmark was removed and everybody agreed, and we got permission that you can use that for a generic grant program to support nonprofits, institutions of higher education that support veterans' mental health, especially veterans' suicide programs. Now, this is where some other misinformation has gotten out. So there are unique factors that cause veterans' mental health issues. There are also unique solutions that work effectively well. And there's study after study pointing this out. The Defense Health Agency, Veterans Affairs, the Annals of Medicine. I could point to so many studies that say you've got to use things like peer-based counseling because veterans will talk to other veterans, trained counselors who are veterans. before they'll talk to their spouse or their clergy. We know that. I've had many a veteran tell me that. There are things that at first sound like, wow, that sounds like pseudoscience, that have a proven track record. Things like equine therapy for veterans. So there are a lot of nonprofits. Bonfire Ranch up in Clanton, Alabama does equine therapy. Great organization. And there are some that do that peer-based counseling. Vets Recovery down in Mobile has a great track record of inpatient and outpatient services. So our vision with that $7 million, which everybody agreed with, the State Board of Veterans Affairs approved it. The Finance Department, we had a memorandum of agreement with them that we'll have a generic grant program, a full and open competition. We'll eventually put out a request for proposals, which the Alabama Department of Mental Health recommended to us. We use a request for proposal process. We put that out in late 2023, got over 40 proposals from nonprofits and institutions of higher education. Here's the extra mile we went, and why I find it a little offensive when this blatantly wrong accusation has been made that we mishandled these funds. I immediately said, look, I suspect a lot of these organizations that are going to submit proposals are organizations we work with pretty close in hand. And I've spoken at their events. I know some of their directors and their staff. They come to our veterans fairs around the state. I don't want to be accused, what we call in the military, of undue influence. So I said, I'm going to recuse myself. I don't want to see the proposals. We need to have an independent panel of experts that reviews these proposals when they come in. And that happened. So there was an independent panel of 5 people who independently scored the more than 40 proposals we got in. Some of the proposals were rejected out of hand in a legal review and by the scoring panel saying,
this isn't.
They don't meet the basic criteria in the request for proposals. Here's what's interesting. That 5-person panel consisted of 3 members nominated by and were employees of the Alabama Department of Mental Health, senior folks from that department with expertise in mental health and grant programs. The other 2 were very esteemed veterans themselves, who had experience also with grant programs. So you had a good balance of mental health professionals and veterans that understood, but the majority of the people on that scoring panel were from the Alabama Department of Mental Health. That's not an editorial comment. It's a fact.
Right.
So in late 2023, they reviewed independently. Each one of them reviewed every proposal and scored them. Those scores were objectively added up with a total. Those were presented without my input. I didn't look at them. I didn't want anything to do with it because of the potential for even the appearance of a conflict of interest. The State Board of Veterans Affairs Grant Committee first reviewed those scores and the scheme was they were going to make a recommendation to the entire State Board of Veterans Affairs on, okay, how far down the list in the rankings do we go with distribution of those funds? $7 million. So I think the grant committee's initial recommendation was, let's award up to $500,000 to any individual grant recipient. And when we go down the list, the cutoff will be at about 16 grant recipients. The vice chair of the entire State Board of Veterans Affairs said, no, I don't like that. I think our vision was to, in his words, spread the wealth to more the smaller organizations. So I'd like to see you go down the list further. So the final recommendation, which the State Board of Veterans Affairs voted on, was to award up to $250,000, so half the original recommendation. And that took the list down to, I think, 33 grant recipients total. So in January of 2024, public announcement was made that the SBVA, they met in an open meeting, so everybody knew, but it was announced publicly that 33 grant recipients were eligible for these dollars. Meanwhile, from the beginning, we stated up front, and everybody acknowledged, the Finance Department, the legislature, the Alabama Department of Mental Health, that the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, even though it deals with grant money internally from the federal government, we did not have the expertise to dole out money to private sector organizations to monitor that. So we knew from the beginning we were going to have an MOA with a department that had an in-house grant administration office that knew the rules. This happens all the time in the federal government. They're called Economy Act arrangements. In state government, they're interagency agreements, memorandum of agreements. So we signed a memorandum of agreement in this process with the Alabama Department of Mental Health and we're going to pay them pretty handsomely, I think $80,000. And the next step was they were supposed to administer the grants. The $7 million was transferred to the Alabama Department of Mental Health for distribution of the money. And mental health was supposed to draft contracts with those individual grant recipients, because another piece of misinformation that's been out there is, oh, that proposal governed the distribution of the funds. No, the proposal was just to judge the viability of that organization, the overall competence of their proposal. Did it meet the request for proposals of meeting the needs of Alabama's veterans' mental health needs? The governing document was going to be a formal contract signed with that nonprofit or institution of higher education. So that was the scheme. So that brings us to early 2024. It's publicly announced the 33 grant recipients. There's a memorandum of agreement in place. We're going to transfer them $7 million to mental health. We're going to pay them $80,000 to administer the grants. January goes by. February goes by. March goes by. Starting to get a little nervous, because we had a deadline of the end of May to get those contracts written and start distributing the funds. That was an ARPA deadline we were facing, reflected in our agreement with the finance department. Our MOA with mental health in black and white said if there was any concern, the two commissioners, mental health and veterans affairs, were supposed to get together in good faith and work out those concerns. If they couldn't work it out, the next step was go to a mediator and work out any concerns. None of that was, didn't hear any concerns. Didn't hear a good faith conversation. April 2nd, 2024, starting to get really nervous. We're now at April and we've got a deadline of the end of May to get the contracts written. I'm asking, what's the status? Have any contracts been written? No, not a single contract had been written. We had about a 2-hour meeting that I convened at the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, invited Commissioner of Mental Health, the director of the Council on Behavioral Health Care, representing a lot of the contractors that handle mental health care in the state. Mm-hmm. We had senior representatives from the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, to talk about, okay, it was more of a generic discussion about this is one great step, but how can we all work together to help with veterans' mental health in the future? Great conversation for 2 hours. Fruitful conversation. We made some tentative plans to work together on all that. No mention of any concerns with the grant program. And at the end of that 2-hour meeting, when most people have left, Commissioner of Mental Health hands me a termination letter saying, we're pulling out of the memorandum of agreement, just unilaterally terminating it. I was dumbfounded. Just my jaw almost hit the ground. I couldn't believe it.
We need to stop there because I needed a break.
Okay.
Thank you for telling that story so far. There's more to it.
Much more.
That we need to get to, folks, but we got to hit this break. 272-9228 if you have a comment or a question for Admiral Kent Davis, now former commissioner, which is mind-boggling given what we just heard. This is the guy you fire, Governor? Yeah. My words, not his, but really. Hey, Eddie, how you doing?
All right, Dave. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. This part of the program, you know, you get hungry around this time of the day, right?
Starving.
You're always hungry.
Right now, definitely.
Right. And you know,
I look down and I see Smokehouse Barbecue.
Smokehouse Pit Barbecue. And man, the ribs are great. The brisket's great. It's going to get cool soon. That
so the
camp
Brunswick stew. Yeah,
ooh,
man.
Yeah. Real good stuff. And of course, they are a true breakfast destination. Wait, barbecue and breakfast? Yes.
They make it work, baby.
It is the best cheese grits in all the land.
Yep.
All the what land, Joe? All the land.
All of the land.
It's like Excalibur when you put your fork or spoon in there. It stands straight up. They're so good. And of course, amazing breakfast meats, custom-made biscuits, breakfast sandwiches, breakfast bowls. So whether you're looking for lunch right now or you're looking for breakfast, you got to go by Smokehouse Pit Barbecue. And they have a very special thing coming up for Thanksgiving. They will be open
that's right, Joe.
on Thanksgiving, 6:30 a.m. to 2 in the afternoon. And you can dine in with them that day. They'll have a special Thanksgiving menu. Or you can pick up food to bring back to your home if you got the family coming in. And they have a special deal of Feast for 15 for $249.99. And that includes a whole smoked turkey breast, smoked ham, or 2 fried turkey breasts, choice of 3 sides, 15 rolls, and a dessert. The sides are to die for, as are these desserts. These are all special for Thanksgiving. So go by Smokehouse Pit Barbecue's Facebook page, and if you want to see all the details, and work with them on Thanksgiving. I think it's going to be a great, delicious time. And of course, you can always just stop by today, right there at Main Street in Millbrook. Get a great lunch at Smokehouse Pit Barbecue. And be sure to tell them that Joe and Eddie, those fellas on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Blue Water Broadcasting on location today, Prattville Carpets, Copsford Road, right here next to Stivers. We're going to be here until 12:30. You've got a little bit of time to come by, drop off a non-perishable food item. I take that back. You got a lot of time to come by here at Prattville Carpets. They have a barrel. Even if I'm not here, you can still come by and drop it off. Anything you can do will be greatly appreciated. If you go grocery shopping, pick up 1 or 2 extra cans of food, or maybe bagged items or boxed items. It doesn't matter. If you're at home and you don't want to go shopping, look through your pantry. I guarantee you'll find something in there that you can bring by and give it to us, and we'll get it to the food bank to ensure that our less fortunate neighbors who, by the way, go hungry 24 hours a day, and that's hard to believe, but they do. We're going to get them a good, decent holiday meal thanks to you. We can't do this without you. This doesn't work without you. And a big thank you from all of our sponsors, including Prattville Carpets. Come on by and see us. We're here till 12:30 today. Prattville Carpets, Copsford Road in Prattville, next to Stivers. We'd love to see you, and thank you for helping us out. This is Bubba at Prattville Carpets till 12:30.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier. Having a job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From little fender benders to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For 4 decades, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. We got a pretty good day in progress. Limited sunshine today, but rather comfortable again. High temperature up to about 77. Cloudy, but will be dry through the evening hours tonight. The rain moving in the overnight hours. Low temperature down to about 64. Kind of a stormy Tuesday and Tuesday night with periods of rain, risk of thunderstorms, marginal severe weather risk, locally heavy rainfall at times. A breezy day, high 71. So cold front number 1 brings the rain. Cold front number 2 arrives Wednesday afternoon, and behind that, some very chilly air. We'll be in the 30s Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, probably Saturday night as well, and high temperatures only in the 50s, upper 50s Thursday and Friday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Web Bobo with Capital Tractor. Get a Kubota RTV with a $2,000 instant rebate or 0% APR, up to 48 months with approved credit. Get a Kubota now through December 31st, 2024. See Capital Tractor Montgomery and Brundage or KubotaUSA.com for details.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. We will be returning to Kent Davis and the story, his side of the story, in just a moment. But, we have some business to attend to. We have Austin Baranko with Invista Advisors on the phone. Hey, Austin, how you doing this fine Monday?
Oh, having a great day, Joey. What about you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Happy to have a great guest in the studio, and the future looks bright, generally speaking. What a time to be alive. But what are your eyes focused on today?
Yeah, so today is kind of business as usual in our office. The last 2 weeks have been a lot of meeting and discussing about market momentum and which way it would go. I think you and I spoke 2 weeks ago, right after the election. We expected a big euphoric run, and oftentimes we give back a little bit of those gains. We certainly saw that heading into weekend last week. But the markets are happy again this morning. So, we expect some volatility between now and year end. We do think the market will put up a few more gains before year end. But we also see some inflation heading into next year. But outside of markets, our office is operating as usual. We're doing some work for some nonprofit organizations this morning. And, life goes on. But how's everything in your world?
Oh, just swell. It's going to be interesting to see these confirmation hearings come up and how that's going to affect whether it's a Hegseth at defense or Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, which I agree with John Fetterman is God-tier trolling on the part of Trump. It's kind of amazing stuff. And, I mean, some of these political decisions and political headwinds do affect y'all's kind of decision-making, right?
Oh, yeah, we keep our finger to the pulse on politics. I think the Gates versus Garland scenario is, like you said, trolling at an elite level. It cracks me up that the tables have turned so dramatically. And, I was discussing with a few colleagues this weekend, just how absurd it is. I listened to some of the dialogue back and forth when, I guess, Gates was under fire not long ago. And now it's basically like he's going to be in the chair above, if he gets, approved, of course, over all the people that were essentially trying to can him. So those types of things can move the market. We keep our finger to the pulse on politics, but not just because of the way they impact our accounts, but we're genuinely interested in that stuff here at our firm. It's not just for the purpose of business, but we're just as into that as you guys are. And I think for the majority of your listenership, we're aligned politically. So I love talking about that stuff. I love listening to your show and hearing your guests break down their analysis. But yeah, the Gates appointment in particular is going to be extremely intense. And I tend to think, and you give me your thoughts on it, that it will go through. It's kind of like a rubber stamp. I can't remember, how often someone that gets appointed doesn't get through kind of being grilled by the Senate. But maybe you can, give me some clarity on that.
Oh, no, it generally, especially how strong Trump won the election, I think anybody would be a fool to really push back. You're going to get the usual ones like Susan Collins of Maine or Murkowski out there in Alaska. But I think generally speaking, even if Lindsey Graham makes noise, any of these folks make noise, they'll go along with the pick. And you might end up with something called a recess appointment for something like Matt Gaetz, where the Congress, goes to recess and the appointment goes through without them advising and consenting on it. So I don't know. I think Trump is just so strong in terms of his political capital that anybody would be a fool to mess with him. So I always appreciate your time, Austin. And folks, if you're looking for an experienced, multidiscipline, truly uniquely qualified team, you got to go with Invista Advisors. It's folks like Austin there. It is Austin there, working to help you kind of see around, down the road and around the corner when it comes to preserving your wealth and full estate planning. So y'all can check them out today. That number's still 387-0094?
Yep, that's us, Joey.
Again, the old home at 387-0094. And be sure to say, hey, I want to talk to Austin. I heard him on that radio show with that Joey fella.
Thank you for your time, Joey.
Appreciate it, sir. Again, that's Austin Barreco with Invista Advisors.
The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. The opinions expressed in this material do not necessarily reflect the views of LPL Financial. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice is offered through Invista Advisors, registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.
Folks, Kent Davis is still here in the studio with us. And where we stopped, I kind of was trying to wait for that moment because I read, of course, 1819 News reporting, but I read everybody's reporting on this over the weekend. And that central claim of why you were fired of mishandling ARPA funds, I couldn't figure it out. I don't understand what they're even saying. I get the literal words, but it doesn't make sense, especially as you laid out in that extensive timeline, that timetable, that it looks like everybody's on the same page. I did not know about that 2-hour meeting where everybody's like, yeah, the future looks bright. Like I'm just saying to Austin here. And then all of a sudden they dropped the termination letter. So we only got about like 5 minutes left in this segment, but why do you think that happens?
Okay. I asked that question immediately. So, unbeknownst to me, the Commissioner of Mental Health also forwarded a list of concerns to the finance departments. And some of them were in the letter, but they added more. One was that there was a conflict of interest in the fact that some of the State Board of Veterans Affairs members were members of organizations that had submitted proposals and were selectees for grants. What they failed to recognize was several members of the State Board of Veterans Affairs had formally recused themselves from deliberations and voting on any of the decisions. So that was a bit of a bogus claim. There was also a pretty specious claim that we had proposed just handing all the money to the organizations. Here's $500,000 up front, a lump sum. That's not true. There were some that had asked for that for partial lump sums because smaller nonprofits, they don't have a lot of cash. They need to go out and buy supplies ahead of time and things like that. There were some really wild allegations that were made. And one particular reporter picked up on this, saying we had proposed using some of that money to pay for lobbyists to lobby for the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs. Completely bogus. One of the grant recipients, it looked like in their proposal, had language in there, but a general counsel had reached out to them saying, you can't use that for lobbying, and that'll be reflected in your final contract. That had been worked out. And then someone was up in arms saying that I was proposing to purchase ammunition, apparently for our department. Basically, I think they were insinuating we were arming our employees. One of the grant proposals had marksmanship training as part of their counseling programs and camaraderie programs for veterans. Well, you do marksmanship programs, you have to buy ammunition. So a lot of specious arguments were made. But April 2nd, get the termination letter. I went into panic. And then shortly thereafter, we're contacted by the finance department saying, look, we got to look into all these allegations, especially the conflict of interest with your board members. So you can't do anything. You can't even talk to the grant recipients. Cease and desist, gag order, no further action on the grants. Okay, the clock is ticking. So I went into panic, frankly, because we'd promised this money. So I did two things. I did two things to rescue this program. First of all, found a new partner. I called Dr. Jack Hawkins, one of my heroes, Vietnam veteran, asked if we could use their grant administration office. He agreed. We started working with them, eventually signed an MOA with them. We were going to pay them much like we were going to pay our previous partner. They have been magnificent.
Beautiful.
They jumped on this immediately. So that solved the administration problem. Then the problem was, if we lose the ARPA money, I can't go back to the grant recipients and say, sorry, huge embarrassment, you're not going to get this money. So in quick succession, these were in the waning days of the state legislative session, went to the state legislature and the State Board of Veterans Affairs, which we legally had to do, and got permission to take $7 million out of the departmental operational budget to fund these grants if we had to as a fallback. Both bodies approved it, SBVA and the legislature. So at least we had an alternative plan. A week goes by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Finally, 6 weeks later, I'm asking politely, what's the status? Look, we're running out of time. I just need a decision. We've got an alternate plan. So May 21st, I get a very polite phone call from the state finance director who works for the governor. Very polite phone call. Had my admin assistant and our general counsel there. And he says, first, I'm sorry it took us so long to look into this. We're busy. Look, we looked into this. We could not find a conflict of interest. Your procedures were good. Here's the problem. You know as well as I do, we're running out of time. It's May 21st. We've got a deadline until the end of May to do this. There's no way we're going to write 33 contracts, get them negotiated, and start distributing the money. The ARPA rules are very complicated. They're subject to audit. You've identified an alternative plan. I congratulate you on having the wherewithal and the foresight to come up with an alternate plan. And I think that's the way we all need to go. And I said, I agree. We've got a path forward. End of discussion. I thought this is all over. Hey, it was unpleasant. We jumped through hoops to make it work, but at least we've got a plan. I figured that's it.
Well,
we're going to get the money to the grant recipients. Everybody is reasonably satisfied now, and we've got a path forward, and everybody's agreed. Focus on the future.
But the story wasn't over.
The story was not over.
And the story continues after the top of the hour break. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Wisconsin Republican U.S. Senate candidate Eric Hove has conceded defeat in the race narrowly won by Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin, saying he will not pursue a recount. Hove could have requested a recount because his margin of defeat was less than 1 percentage point at about 29,000 votes. Spirit Airlines filing for bankruptcy protection and will attempt to reboot as it struggles to recover from the pandemic-caused drop in travel and a failed attempt to sell the airline to JetBlue. Picketing continuing outside a hotel casino near the Las Vegas Strip. No talks are scheduled between the management and union members. The walkout is the first since 2002 for the largest labor union in Nevada. The Dow dropping 45 points, the NASDAQ ahead 118. This is SRN News.
And paid for by America First Tax Group. Attention, if you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-615-7541 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-615-7541. That's 800-615-7541. Again, 800-615-7541.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. We've got a pretty good day in progress. Limited sunshine today, but rather comfortable again. High temperature up to about 77. Cloudy, but will be dry through the evening hours tonight. The rain moving in the overnight hours. Low temperature down to about 64. Kind of a stormy Tuesday and Tuesday night with periods of rain, risk of thunderstorms, marginal severe weather risk, locally heavy rainfall at times. A breezy day, high 71. So cold front number 1 brings the rain. Cold front number 2 arrives Wednesday afternoon, and behind that, some very chilly air. We'll be in the 30s Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, probably Saturday night as well, and high temperatures only in the 50s, upper 50s Thursday and Friday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. The Alabama Forestry Commission has lifted the wildfire danger advisory statewide after the recent rainfall. While the chance of significant wildfire potential has decreased, Alabama still remains in drought conditions. The AFC urges anyone conducting outdoor burning to follow all safety precautions. The Promenade North Shopping Center on East Boulevard has been sold to a North Carolina-based real estate firm in a multi-million-dollar deal. The 57,000 square foot shopping center, anchored by Home Depot and Olive Garden, was built in 1997 and renovated in 2019. Promenade North sold for $6.3 million. State Representative Ontario Tillman has pre-filed House Bill 64, which would make Election Day a state holiday in Alabama. Tillman stated the full day off would increase voter turnout and possibly reduce long lines during rush hours. The legislature will take up the measure when it begins its next session on February 4th. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Erdit. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
The blowout at Marguerite's is on. Door busters. We got lab-grown 5-carat diamond bracelets, $16.50. Half-carat diamond stud earrings, lab-grown, $99. 1-carat diamonds, $4.99 in a 14-carat mounting. You got to be kidding me. Every single item in the store has a crazy whack-out price, and our inventory is better than ever. We're ready for Christmas, and you can lay away to Christmas Eve. Don't miss the blowout at Marguerite's. The early bird catches a diamond.
Join us tomorrow from 11:30 to 12:30 at Ask Telemarketing on Carmichael Road in Montgomery for our annual holiday food drive. Drop off your non-perishable food donations to help feed families in need this holiday season.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon, or as we're calling this online, Joey Clark Live. You can always watch on YouTube at Joey Clark Live, or Facebook, or on the X platform at the Joey Clark. And he's still here. We still got a story to tell. We have Admiral Kent Davis here in the studio, former commissioner for Veterans Affairs here in the great state of Alabama. And we're trying to understand, at least I am, why former. So far with the story, it sounds like, okay, that's really unfortunate that all of a sudden the Department of Mental Health goes, we can't be your grant, we can't be the operation that's actually making these contracts with all these small nonprofits that have been shown to be effective, that went through a whole process where everybody's, anybody with a conflict of interest, potential conflict, recuses themselves. You've got 3 people from the Department of Mental Health, 2 very highly esteemed veterans reviewing all these things. And it's like, it's ready to go. All of a sudden, they're like, well, we can't do that for reasons that still remain pretty vague. You finally are able to, it's Troy University, right? Jack Hawkins' office. You're able to find somebody who can actually administer these grants. You get it out of your own budget after getting approved by the board and by the legislature. And you're like, well, whew, okay, I guess that's behind us now. But, I mean, so what's the next shoe to drop?
Well, so that brings us up to May 21st. And Joey, I got to tell you, I felt like we collectively and me had jumped through hoops to make this all work, to do things right, and to get where we needed to be. The final objective, let's help veterans' mental health and get the money to those nonprofits that had already been selected. I got to tell you, my little whiny moment here. This was not easy for me. At the same time this is all going on, I'm battling stage 3 cancer. No kidding. So not easy dealing with all of this and a personal situation in my life. But we made it happen, and we arrive at May 21st. Okay, everybody agrees we've got a path forward. All the mistakes, all the misunderstandings, all the road to Hades is paved with good intentions, errors, we fixed. We pretty much did that, fixed it, and got a path forward. So I thought, we're done. Everything's fine, hunky-dory. Okay, then we get to July. So the State Board of Veterans Affairs, my bosses, the ones that hire me and can fire me, they have their quarterly meeting. And before the quarterly meeting, 2 of the board members come up to me and almost verbatim say, we need to talk to you. We have serious ethics concerns with how that whole grant program played out. And we feel like there was some improper ethical behavior. I said immediately, time out. Okay, I've been down this road before. I was a city manager in Alabama. I know the ethics code pretty well. I've dealt with the ethics commission. The state ethics code says in black and white law, if an agency head is made aware of ethics concerns, that agency head has a 100% obligation to report those concerns to the ethics commission. If they fail to report that, they're guilty of a Class A misdemeanor crime. Do you understand that? Both said, yes, understand that. They told me the gist of the concerns, and I said, we need to bring the vice chair into this conversation. He needs to be aware of this and how serious this is. So he joined the conversation. We talked for a while. I got their basic allegations, which are pretty extensive. The meeting was about to start. I said, okay, I'm going to have to follow up with you, but I feel like I have an obligation. I did say, look, the state ethics code is a little nebulous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten a lot of criticism. There's talk about redoing the ethics code, and we've had issues. The whole Mike Hubbard incident and all of that kind of created this impression that the ethics code is hard to understand in Alabama. Now, I say this, my background, I was a federal attorney. I was an ethics counsel for the federal government. The federal ethics system, despite what you may think of the federal government, is pretty good. A lot of it was formed under the first George Bush administration. They did a good job putting together a pretty good ethics code that's understandable, pretty concrete, easy to follow. I don't think that's true in Alabama sometimes. And people, that's not me. That's a lot of commentary on that. So I told them, look, I'm not sure this even qualifies as an ethics violation, but ethics concerns is what's reportable. So I said, I'm going to follow up with you. You've mentioned some other people that you said I needed to talk to. So I did. And I told those 3 people now, 3 members of the State Board of Veterans Affairs, including the vice chair, I'm going to write something up. I want you to review it to see if it encapsulates your concerns. I did that exactly as I promised. I wrote it up, gave it to those 3, asked them, does this encapsulate your concerns? All 3 said yes. It encapsulates everything we brought to your attention. It's very thorough. I opened that narrative to the Ethics Commission with a line that said, look, I'm frankly reluctant to submit this, but under the state ethics code, I'm obligated. Otherwise, I'm guilty of a misdemeanor. They acknowledged that later on. I got a letter from them saying, we appreciate your understanding your obligation, their words, to report this to us. So, follow the law. No good deed will go unpunished. So I report it. And then I think intentionally, maliciously, unethically, and despicably, somebody leaked the narrative portion of that ethics complaint. Now, I clarify that, and here's where it gets tricky. They did not leak the whole file, because I had several emails back and forth with the Ethics Commission where I corrected one factual error in the original narrative. That hasn't been reported. In fact, one reporter went with the idea of, the whole ethics complaint is bogus because it had a factual error. That was corrected as part of the official record. When it got leaked, I sent an email to the Ethics Commission after talking to the 3 original complaints from the state board, and I said, I think this whole matter has been compromised now. I've done enough federal investigations. I used to teach at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, was a federal attorney. I think it's been compromised. Now you're going to have people getting their stories straight. It's out in public. I'm going to ask that it be withdrawn completely. All 3 of them said, yeah, that's the right thing to do. I formally requested to the Ethics Commission, I'd like to withdraw the entire complaint. Never heard a response until they dismissed the complaint. Well, I'd asked that it be withdrawn, that you not even investigated at this point. August 27th, get a letter saying they've dismissed the complaint. Okay. I'm sure you dismiss a lot of ethics complaints.
Sure.
Happens routinely. A week later, September 5th, I'm driving down to our new state veterans home in Enterprise, Alabama for a meeting with our contractor, our general contractor building the home. The last big meeting before we do the grand opening. Putting together a punch list. Is probably going to be a multi-hour meeting. And I had a speaking engagement in South Alabama, not even in the office. Driving in South Alabama on official business. 11 a.m., my phone rings, and it's our admin officer from headquarters. And she's emotionally upset. I could barely understand her at first. I think she was on the verge of crying. And she said, you and I, meaning I and her, got an email from a legal assistant in the governor's office. And I said, okay, you're obviously upset. What does the email say? And she said, well, it asks for two things. First, the governor is going to dismiss one of the board members. And she's asking for your resignation by 5 p.m. today. And I said, this isn't an email? I mean, no phone call? Well, she said, well, there's a letter attached. And I said, well, I'm driving. I can't pull it up right now. I'll try later on. And it had the basic allegation of you mishandled, misspent ARPA funds. And I thought, well, that's demonstrably false. So I'm sorry, but until I get a chance, due process to answer this, I'm not resigning. So I didn't. I mean, I had 6 hours notice while I'm out of the office, getting an email from a junior legal assistant in the governor's office. Nobody has called me. The last conversation I had was on May 21st with the finance director saying, congratulations, did a good job, no conflict of interest, got a path forward. So what happened between May 21st and September 5th? Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what happened. That ethics complaint and the leaking of the ethics complaint. So everybody is telling me, I don't have to draw this conclusion, including some very senior government officials are saying, pretty obvious what's going on here, that this is retaliation.
But it's retaliation for something you were obligated to do under law.
Absolutely. It's in black and white in the state ethics code.
How are you being punished for something that not only was it like, it's not just legal, it's like it would have been illegal for you not to have done it.
The classic Hobson's choice in a situation. Nobody should be put in that situation. And do we really want a public policy that's now been set that has a chilling effect on anybody hesitating in filing an ethics complaint with all of the ethics issues this state has historically had? And make no mistake about it, a lot of people out there are going to hesitate now saying, I'm not doing that. Look what happened to this guy. He got fired over this matter. Now, subsequently, they've come up with all of these other generic reasons, including in the final letter where they said, yeah, one of the reasons is you're filing that ethics complaint. But they also said lack of leadership, lack of cooperation. Okay.
Prove it.
Yeah, prove it. Give me some specifics. You can't just make that generic allegation. Even in the last open meeting, when the last vote was taken, I mean, every vote by the State Board of Veterans Affairs was in my favor, two of them unanimously. I said, here we are in an open meeting. You tell me specifics, give me due process, I will address anything, good, bad, or ugly. Got nothing. No specifics. Just generic allegations of total failure of leadership, lack of cooperation, things like that. Okay, great. To me, that sounds, in legal terms, what we call a subterfuge, but
yes,
that pretty much brings us up to the story. So
we
get to the point where they demand my resignation. I didn't. They also released that letter to the media. So within 5 minutes of the admin officer calling me, news media starts calling out of the blue. I don't know what to tell them. I haven't read the letter.
Right.
I thought, somebody have called me and said, we have a serious concern. Be a little professional. Come over. We want to talk to you. You can scream at me. I'll respond to anything. But now I'm suddenly having to answer questions unprompted from the news meeting. I have no idea. I haven't even seen the letter yet.
So what was, and maybe we don't have time for this, but what was in a nutshell, the ethics complaint that really seems to have stirred up this hornet's
nest? Well, it goes back to, and again, 90% or more was what was related to me by the board members. But I did talk to additional witnesses and gather stuff that I didn't know. And it was included in the original narrative. There was one error that I corrected that a witness had told me. And I mentioned this earlier. So for 5 years, we've been trying to improve mental health through several things. There were concerns about the opioid settlement money because the State Board of Veterans Affairs had formally passed unanimously a resolution asking for an earmark of some of those funds for veteran suicide and opioid prevention efforts. Well, despite that, in the first 2 distributions of opioid settlement money, Veterans Affairs got nothing, $0. And the state board was concerned about that. They didn't even get an answer to their formal resolution, not even the courtesy of a response. So I can understand how they were upset. The second thing was how the Veterans Access to Care bill was handled. Senator Jones, Representative Brown, who I salute, trying to do something good, but originally it was supposed to set up an independent mental health care system for veterans, much like the Department of Corrections and some others like the community college system has, that would have been vested in Veterans Affairs. That bill got rewritten completely. I mean, from scratch, changed it completely. And there was a lot of influence in the rewriting of that. I saw a lot of lobbyists that jumped in representing the mental health care industry that had a hand in rewriting that. You're talking a lot of money potentially. So the whole bill was rewritten to take it out of Veterans Affairs, give it to mental health, and no direct earmarking immediate funds for veterans' mental health. It did create a study commission that would study the issue of veterans' mental health for the next year, and that commission is meeting. But I will tell you, veterans' mental health is probably one of the most studied issues.
Yeah, you don't need a study commission.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were upset about that, understandably, State Board of Veterans Affairs. And then most recently, they were concerned about how the whole grant process had played out and some of the players that had a hand in that. So I got it. I told them, okay, I understand your concerns. I share some of your concerns, but now that you've brought them to my attention, I have an absolute obligation to report that.
Yep.
So that was the gist of the concerns related in that ethics complaint. Now, a lot of people have asked me for copies, and I said, I'm not in the mode of leaking that.
Right.
I don't know how it got out. If I could get my hands on whoever leaked it, I think it was done nefariously.
Oh, no doubt.
No doubt. And we would not be here in this moment if somebody had not leaked that.
Well, and then so she, out of the blue, and it's not even she, I think I'm giving the governor too much credit.
Yeah.
You said it was a legal assistant in her office. Sends this out. The media picks it up before you've even had a chance to read it.
The news media.
Yeah.
Probably got it first.
And so you're looking at this going, none of this is true. You push back, but then eventually you go, you know what? If y'all don't want me, I guess it would be wise to step aside anyhow.
Yeah, Joey, this may sound a little corny. You know, I came from a military culture where if it happens on your watch, if you feel like you, for some reason, may strategically not be conducive to the future operations, you say, okay, maybe it's time to move on. So September 8th, when I didn't resign, in response to the September 5th, they sent out another letter saying I didn't have the decency to resign. Decency? Really? So I didn't. Well, then she called a special called meeting of the State Board of Veterans Affairs to call for my removal for cause. Okay. I'll go defend myself. I'll answer any questions. I've always been up front. Open meeting. You can ask me any question in the world. It's a flurry of phone calls. People started getting nervous. Veterans were outraged. There were talk of busloads of veterans showing up in protest over all of this. I was summoned over to the governor's office. In the meantime, the vice chair of the State Board of Veterans Affairs, Scott Gedling, calls me several times, says, look, I'm getting incredible pressure from the governor's office. Governor's office started calling board members, asking them basically how they were going to vote, and even saying things like, we can count on your support of the governor in the vote on Tuesday, can't we? This was reported by 1819 News.
Yeah.
This is not me saying this. They interviewed some of the board members, 2 or 3 of them, who said, yeah, I got that call. And some of those calls ended with, we can count on your support of the governor in the vote on Tuesday. I don't think that's proper.
Nope.
No.
Open Meetings Act shouldn't be having those substantive discussions. You should not be vetting votes before an open meeting discussion. So I was concerned about that. I thought, okay, are the cards being stacked against me? Pretty powerful card stacking going on. The vice chair of the board calls me and says, I'm getting incredible pressure from the governor's office. Look, I'm trying to convince the governor not to even come to the special called meeting, to let me chair it. And I think I'm going to call 3 votes. First, I'm going to ask that we affirm the governor's decision to remove one of the board members. I won't name him here publicly, but that was one of the votes. And he said, yeah, that's probably going to pass. I don't know where he's getting the basis for that. Secondly, we're going to take a vote to determine whether you mishandled ARPA grant monies, and you're going to be exonerated for that. It's pretty clear. But then I'm going to take a third vote to remove you for cause because you've lost the trust and confidence of the governor. And I have the votes for that. And I said, well, Scott, if you do that, my reputation is ruined. I won't be able to find a job. I'm 14 months away from a state retirement. 14 months. Would you, after the second vote, let me just voluntarily resign? And I said, give me a little time so I can do turnover. We have some big things going on, opening of a new state veterans home. I can't just walk out the door. A lot of the stuff I have a personal hand in. And he said, yeah, I'll let you do that. Well, then I get a call from the governor's office saying, can you come over for me? Yep, come over. Had an attorney by this point. My attorney's there. I took a witness. Great conversation, I thought. Governor came in for about 30 seconds, stood at the door and said, I hope we can work out a deal. No substantive discussion with the governor, but overall a good discussion. And we had an agreement, a firm agreement. I was going to voluntarily resign effective December 31st, and that would obviate the need for that special called meeting on Tuesday, the next day, September 10th. So everybody agreed. Special called meeting is canceled. I'm resigning December 31st. Next things that happen, State Board of Veterans Affairs has meetings. Their services committee meets, and I see on the agenda, one of the line items is discussion of the ARPA grant funds. And I thought, oh boy, here we go again. So I went to the chair and I said, what is this? You have me down as discussing the ARPA grant funds. He said, I want you to explain to the committee how that all played out so we can make a determination if there was any wrongdoing since that allegation has been made. And I said, okay, I'll answer any question. I've always been open and transparent. That committee met for about an hour and a half. They grilled me. I went through the timeline. At the end, somebody made a motion. They took a unanimous vote to exonerate me and the department of any wrongdoing with the ARPA grants.
Good.
An hour and a half going through all of this
in
great detail. It was like a mini inquisition.
I bet.
Satisfied and answer all their questions. I said, have I answered all your questions? Yes. It's clear. There was no wrongdoing. I make a motion that we exonerate the commissioner and the department. Next day, the committee chair presents that to the State Board of Veterans Affairs in an open meeting. I didn't say a word in that discussion. And someone makes a motion saying, okay, that begs the question, if the commissioner didn't do anything wrong, and we all agree he's done a great job as commissioner and veterans love him in the state, why is he resigning?
Yep.
I make a motion, we ask him to withdraw his resignation. I didn't say a word. They take the vote, unanimously, it passes. One of the board members looks at me in this open meeting and said, we don't even want the commissioner to weigh in or answer now. We've put him on the spot here. He had an agreement to resign effective December 31st. He needs to talk to his family. So I didn't say a word. I honored that request and I said, okay, I'm not going to give any response here. No idiot. Talked to my attorney afterwards. Said basically, what do I do now?
Yeah.
The board has voted unanimously. They're my boss to ask me to stay. I had an agreement with the governor, but this is an intervening major factor now. The people I work for have asked me to stay. My attorney said, let me talk to the governor's general counsel and I'll get back with you. He calls, general counsel calls me back and says he's going to talk to his client, see if we need to have further discussion. So I asked my attorney, okay, how long do I give him? And he said, give me until close of business on October 18th. And I said, okay, that's reasonable. This was like 3 days later, I think. In the meantime, headline comes out in the paper, State Board of Veterans Affairs votes to defy Governor Ivey. And I thought, oh boy, that's going to infuriate people.
Yeah.
I don't write the headlines. Sometimes you live with what the media reports. So Friday morning, another infamous email from a junior legal assistant in the governor's office, a letter attached, calling an immediate special called meeting asking for now my immediate removal from my position as commissioner. It's like, I thought we had this all settled again. I was just going to voluntarily leave December 31st and everybody was okay. We were done. Here we go again, change 14 to plan F. So like another meeting where we're going to go through the same things over and over again, and another vote. A lot happens over the next few days. The rules were set. So the governor, I think, reasonably says, I'm setting the meeting Tuesday. I have to have a convenient time and date that meets my schedule. I want the meeting to be in the Capitol for my convenience. Everybody says, okay, it's reasonable. And then it's announced the governor's not even going to come to the meeting that she called, a special called meeting. But for the first time, probably in the history of the board, first time since I've been commissioner, she's going to appoint a proxy to sit in and vote for her. Okay, never done that before, but okay. And then it's announced that we're not going to allow virtual participation by board members. This is like 2 or 3 days notice, working days notice of the special call meeting. Well, the 17 positions on that state board of Veterans Affairs, these people live all over the state.
Right.
They have jobs, they have travel plans, they have doctor's appointments and all that. So a lot of them said, there's no way on this short notice I can get down there. Some abstained from voting, I suspect, because they didn't want any part of this.
Yep.
It's like, we've been through this over and over again. I'm tired of this. I'm abstaining. So in the end, on Tuesday, a special called meeting, 5 people out of 17 statutory positions on the board. There were some vacancies on the board that had not been reappointed. 5 people voted. One of those is the governor's proxy representative. So in the end, they flipped 1 vote. And that one person who voted against me on the regular board, for lack of a better term, actually gave a very nice, respectable speech saying, before I vote, I need to explain my vote. I'm convinced the commissioner didn't do anything wrong, and he's been a great commissioner. But this boils down to the question of, has he lost the trust and confidence of the governor, and can we work as a board and a department without the trust and confidence of the governor? So that's the only reason I'm voting in favor of the governor's resolution to remove it. Strangely, might be coincidence, but the vote was in reverse alphabetical order too. So he was the first one to go and make the vote. And I thought, well, okay, it's pretty much over. I'm doomed. He's kind of set the tone. But then the vote was in my favor.
Wow.
I won the vote. It was 3-2, but it's like in football. You win 10-9. It's a win. So legally, took a majority vote. I win, for lack of a better term. They say, no, we're going to retain him. My plan was, okay, I'll stay until December 31st, go get a job somewhere else. And then within moments, the governor's general counsel walks up to my attorney with a letter basically saying, don't care about the vote. The governor's exercising her supreme executive power to remove you effective immediately, right now, in this moment. I wish the story ended there. It didn't. So this was obviously all pre-planned. That letter was ready to go.
Yeah.
I said, okay, talk to my attorney. He said, just go get your immediate personal effects from your office. Go home. We'll talk. Start going to my office, and I'm told, don't come to the office. Law enforcement is waiting for you at your office. And I said, why would law enforcement, and nobody's made criminal allegations against me, for God's sake. Well, there's governor staffers here, and apparently they've alerted the media too. This is going to be a fiasco if you come back. Media is going to cover you getting escorted out of the office. I said, I'll be darned. I'm a retired admiral. I served honorably for 31 years, 5 combat zone deployments. My family is here with me. Really? This sounds like a little bit of a play towards humiliation,
yes, it
or
does.
what I would call actual malice.
Yes.
In defaming me publicly. So I said, okay, talk to my attorney. I'm not going back to the office. I've been fired immediately. I don't work. I don't have an obligation to go back to the office. I'm just going to go home. My wife and son head home. And then I start getting calls saying, there's law enforcement at your house.
What in the world?
Neighbors have seen it. My wife and son are at the house. There's law enforcement here. And I said, really, I used to carry a top secret clearance in the military. Even if they want to confiscate my government phone, all you have to do is, they could have said it in the meeting over there. Can we have your government phone and the key to your office? Here you go.
Sure.
So I called my attorney. I said, is there a search warrant involved? What do I do? And he said, well, nobody's mentioned anything about criminal allegations. They can't step foot in your property without a search warrant. So I drove around for a while and I thought, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Neighbors were watching law enforcement in front of my house, live in a neighborhood. My son and wife are there. I'm thinking they're cowering behind closed doors thinking, what do we do? So I thought, the heck with it. I'm going home. That's my home. I'm with my daughter. Went to grab a bite to eat with her. Went there. I said, I'm going to approach them. So I didn't even go in my driveway. Stopped in the street. And you talk about God works in mysterious ways. I won't even name his name or give too much about him, but he was as polite as possible. The law enforcement officer I dealt with. Turned out he was a military veteran. And won't tell you what he told me, but he was polite, professional, and basically said, you understand, I'm just doing my job as ordered. And I said, I get that. He said, I'm a veteran. I figured you'd understand that. And he said, sir, all I'm here is to get any government property that's on your immediate possession. I said, could have told me that over there.
Yeah. Right.
I could have easily come in the morning. I said, I've got to get all my personal effects and clean out my office. Well, we'll arrange that later on. I eventually went back and did that under police escort. And I did glance at my computer while I was there, and it turns out that my IT access had been cut off while we were still in that meeting where the state board voted to retain me. So this was clearly all planned.
And I need to hit another break. And after the break, I kind of want to get into what happens next, potentially. But, there at one point, one of those votes saying, when the board said, we want to keep him, like we still have full confidence. Yeah, that was written up as defies the governor. That, I believe it was that vote. I think the governor is quoted, and who knows if she actually said it, her office is saying this was orchestrated theater, that y'all had manipulated the vote. And it made me sit there and think and go, well, actually, all the orchestrated theater is coming from the governor's office.
Sure is.
Because how's the media alerted to these things? Why are police ready to go? Yada, yada, yada. And then how they kept adding on reasons like lack of decency at one point, of lack of leadership. All that does not apply to you, sir. It applies to them. And this is my words, not yours. But everything they're accusing you of, they're probably guilty as sin themselves. And, I like to say on the airwaves, I'm a jackass here on the airwaves. I'm a clown. I very quickly, though, when I meet somebody, go, you don't want me running the ship. You don't want me running the show. But when I talk to somebody, I can very quickly go, that's the person you do want running something. From your service in the military to the service in many other capacities. And they do this to you. It's unconscionable. Who are these people? Because I don't believe it's Governor Ivy.
It's not.
Though she is the figurehead and ultimately responsible. Who are these people? I'm not expecting you to name names. It's just, what is this weird Montgomery bubble, this clique, that thinks they can get away with this and treat people that only deserve our respect just short of criminality? Like I said, I got to hit a break. And I appreciate you telling the story in full. This is crazy. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Lewis at the Capital Oyster Bar, and I just want to tell you, if you're in business or got an event coming up and want to do some advertising, wisely spent dollars are spent down here at Blue Water Broadcasting. All the guys are nice, easy to work with, and I see results, I guarantee you.
Did you know that radio is the #1 reach platform in all of media? It's true. Call us to find out how to put radio's #1 reach to work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks, helping local business.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group with your updated market report. So far this year through MLS, there have been over 4,000 closings in the river region. Sellers have been getting on the average of over 97% of the listed price. In this ever-changing real estate market, I've seen more price reductions on listings over the last 3 months than I've seen in years. It's time to act for a buyer. So we have a greater supply of homes for people to see before they buy. We have an average price of $261,000 in our area. Local mortgage companies have come up with really attractive plans for first-home buyers, such as down payment assistance, lender credits to help on the closing costs, and buy-down plans to buy down the starting rate for borrowers. Investing in yourself and your community is life-changing for first-home buyers. You need a buyer agent to represent your interest and give you great advice. For all this information, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group at 221-2883 or 551-0225.
Want to take the price of new flooring and tear it in half? You can during Prattville Carpet's biggest sale of the year, going on right now. Save 50% on select luxury vinyl plank and select carpets in stock. Stop into the store to register to win a brand new quartz countertop up to 75 feet until November 20th. No purchase necessary.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for waterproof carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Shop now and save big at PrattvilleCarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Sam, and I am so excited to tell you the last car I bought, it came from Riverside Chevrolet. Now get a load of this. Not only do they have a friendly staff that will answer any question at Riverside, they also have a finance department second to none, and a service department that's rated #1. Anything from pre-love to brand spanking new, cars, trucks, vans, they have it all. And at Riverside Chevrolet, you get first-class service. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net or check them out on Facebook. Great reviews. You'll love it.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values. This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of H&H Carpets in stock specials on waterproof luxury vinyl plank and engineered hardwood flooring at blowout sale prices. H&H Carpet across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Well, hi, everybody. We got a pretty good day in progress. Limited sunshine today, but rather comfortable again. High temperature up to about 77. Cloudy, but will be dry through the evening hours tonight. The rain moving in the overnight hours. Low temperature down to about 64. Kind of a stormy Tuesday and Tuesday night with periods of rain, risk of thunderstorms, marginal severe weather risk, locally heavy rainfall at times. A breezy day, high 71. So cold front number 1 brings the rain. Cold front number 2 arrives Wednesday afternoon, and behind that, some very chilly air. We'll be in the 30s Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, probably Saturday night as well, and high temperatures only in the 50s. Upper 50s Thursday and Friday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank has digital banking solutions to help you keep up. Check balances, pay bills, and much more. Learn more at cbsbank.com. Charges and fees may apply from your cellular service provider. Contact your service provider for information. Member FDIC.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the river region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
For more information, send an email to digital@bluewaterbroadcasting.com.
The blowout at Marguerite's is on. Door busters. We got lab-grown 5-carat diamond bracelets, $16.50. Half-carat diamond stud earrings, lab-grown, $99. 1-carat diamonds, $4.99 in a 14-karat mounting. You got to be kidding me. Every single item in the store has a crazy whack-out price, and our inventory is better than ever. We're ready for Christmas, and you can lay away to Christmas Eve. Don't miss the blowout at Marguerite's. The early bird catches the diamond.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back. Here in studio with us, we have Admiral Kent Davis. And the question is, the show has flown by, and I really do appreciate you sharing the story in detail. But the question is now, what's going to happen next?
Good question. So I can't get into the specifics. There will be legal action. I have an attorney. He's very good. He's very experienced. He came highly recommended. He's been a great help. On any specific litigation, I have to refer to him, as you can understand. And I am an attorney myself. I do not litigate cases in the public. Can't talk about the specifics of litigation, but I will say this. I've got plenty of time. I got plenty of money, and this ain't going away. I would hope that someone with a conscience and the wherewithal and the influence would say, well, wait a minute, we didn't know all these facts. There's much more to this story. Perhaps some of us jump to conclusions and have those serious discussions. We could end this in a very honorable way. If not, it's going to continue to be a public debacle. And I promise you that. I am not giving this up. If people wanted a war over this, believe me, I got a lot of experience in warfare. And in every battle like this, there's a legal battle and there's a public relations battle. I'm willing to weigh in on both of those at this point because I think I've been besmirched. I think I've been defamed. I've been accused of things that did not happen. There's been some misinformation out there. I was reluctant to even talk in the beginning because I thought that's not befitting, a retired admiral. But now I'm willing to talk to anybody and answer any question. And I've said yes to every interview that has been asked of me. And I will continue that. Again, I hope cooler heads would prevail. And people would say, this is not going well for the state. This is not a good look for the state of Alabama. It ties into the whole continuum of military veteran service and how we treat our military and veterans. This is not a good look. When we were doing some very, very good things for veterans in this state, and frankly, needed to be taken care of. The state had been behind the power curve in taking care of its veterans in some cases. And I will tell you, in some cases, has done some things that were purely detrimental to veterans. I mentioned the scholarship program earlier that we've had. The biggest change in state benefits over the last few years for veterans in the state was a cut in that scholarship program. That's cut it at about 50%. Now, I've said that before, and it causes offense. And boy, I learned in this state, you even mildly criticize any kind of political decision, you're going to pay a price for it. I think that's despicable. I think, and the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs has a statutory role in the Alabama Code to advocate for veterans and their benefits. I know I've ruffled some feathers, but don't you want a public servant that's willing to call a spade and say, you got to do better in this state? We shouldn't be happy with the status quo. Isn't that the problem we have in this state sometimes, that people are too happy with the status quo? Isn't that why too often we finish at the bottom of statistics, embarrassingly, across the nation?
Yes.
I just leave that general thought. Look, I'm no Dudley Do-Right that has done everything right, but our team was doing some really good stuff. And to be besmirched and accused of failure of leadership and cooperation, that's just not true.
Now, I kind of want to end with this. It's almost, it might be a strange ending because it could be a question of where you begin, but I think it's better to end with it. When did you first decide to serve the nation? How young were you when you got in?
Oh my gosh. So it goes back, and this may sound a little corny. So my dad served in World War II. He was a student at Auburn University when the war broke out. Ended up in the 8th Armored Division. He was an infantryman. He got wounded very badly in the aftermath of the Battle of the Bulge and some of the cleanup operations for the Battle of the Bulge. Poor man spent 9 months in an Army hospital, saving his legs, learning how to walk again. Always had a tremendous respect for him. But I got to tell you, I knew that for the rest of his life, he suffered from PTSD. I remember him waking up in the middle of the night screaming. So I always had that, a feeling that, you know, here I am, a child of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Did I really contribute anything to this country like that greatest generation did? So I always had a love for the military. And literally, one day I saw a recruiting poster for the Navy, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to talk to that guy. It looks kind of interesting. And that recruiter was great. He was a naval aviator. Coolest guy in the world. Still remembering to this day. And by the end of the conversation, I thought, dang, that actually sounds interesting. And I was one of these guys, I thought, I'll join it for 4 years, do my time, get some good benefits like the GI Bill, which I did. I used the GI Bill to go back to law school. And then when I completed law school, I went to the Army, believe it or not. So that recruiter kept talking with me, and he said, look, get your degree. Let's go ahead. If you want, you can enlist in the Navy Reserve. And then when you get your degree, we'll apply for officer candidate school. I graduated, got picked up for officer candidate school, became an officer. So I did I ended up doing 8 years active duty, served on a great ship, the USS Missouri, one of the World War II battleships where we signed the surrender with Japan. I did logistics and was a weapons officer, got to fire the 16-inch guns on a battleship. Not translatable to civilian world very well, but really cool thing to do.
That's awesome.
But I kind of got hooked on it after 8 years. Unfortunately, the Cold War ended and the Navy was shrinking in size, so career opportunities in the Navy were not great. So I got out, used the GI Bill to go to law school, but stayed in the Navy Reserve. And then I got recruited to come back on active duty as a military JAG. And I joined the Army. So by this time I'd been short time enlisted. I'd been an officer on active duty. Now in the Army, as was an Army major when I got out of the Army. And I thought, well, I'm just going to practice law and I'll get out of the military completely. And that was my intention. And I joined a big law firm in Atlanta. I worked for King and Spalding in Atlanta. I had a great time there. And then 9/11 occurred. And I got bitten again by the need to serve. And again, that may sound a little corny to people, but I did two things. I rejoined the selected reserve in the Navy, not fully understanding how much active duty time I'd be doing, because I ended up getting deployed to the Middle East several times, including my last big tour was in 2012. Went to Afghanistan for 7 months on the ground there. Meanwhile, my wife got the bug too. And she said, you know, I'm kind of fascinated by this whole Navy thing. How would you feel about me joining the Navy? And I said, well, okay. So she joined the Navy Reserve and ended up in uniform for 21 years. She retired. So I did 31 years total active in the reserve. After I got back from Afghanistan, I was going to retire again. I thought, I'm going to hang it up. I've got over 20 years and I'll just retire. And 2 weeks after I got back from Afghanistan, I got a call saying I had been selected for a promotion to Admiral. So I stayed another 3 years. And then after that, it was mandatory retirement because in my specialty by that time, there was only one Admiral slot. There was nowhere else for me to go. So I retired in 2016 completely. People ask me if I miss it. A little bit, the camaraderie, but I'm glad I did my time and it was over and I could go on to other things in life. But my wife and I are both proud that we served. My dad served honorably in World War II and was wounded, Purple Heart, Bronze Star recipient. My father-in-law was an Army chaplain in the Army Reserve. He's a retired Methodist minister. So yeah, a little bit of patriotism, a little bit of appreciation for camaraderie. I joined, a lot of people called me in late 2018 and early 2019 saying, you need to apply for the vacant commissioner position. We think you'd be perfect for it, including Mayor of Montgomery mentioned it to me. And I said, what the heck? Send in my resume. And I did miss my brothers and sisters in uniform. And I thought, hey, this will get that connection back.
Yeah.
I was actually a civilian at Maxwell Air Force Base at the time, believe it or not. I loved that job. Loved Maxwell and Air University. So weirdly, over the years, I worked for the Navy, the Army, the Air Force. I was active, I was reserve, I was short-term enlisted, and then an officer. Almost got all my bases covered. I even had Marines under my command at times. So, and worked for Homeland Security in my civilian job for a while and got to work with the Coast Guard. So I just love the military and my brothers and sisters who've served.
Well, number one, thank you for your service. And number two, I'm sorry that this has happened.
It's bizarre.
It's crazy.
Surreal. I'm trying to understand it, and it's hard for me to get my arms around it and grasp it.
And it's of course, there are, I think, mysteries of who's actually behind this stuff, and maybe some of that'll come out, who knows. But then my mind always goes to the personal side of things, and it's just like, this is not how you treat people. This is not how you treat people. This disgusting, there's a reason I sometimes call the government a gang of thieves writ large. It's disgusting behavior on their part. Well, I appreciate your time today. I really
Thanks,
do.
Joy. Really appreciate the opportunity. Just come in, and I've tried to just give facts. I don't take any of this as editorial opinions. People have asked me for 2 months, what really happened? Okay, you just heard what really happened.
There you go. Well, I got to hit this break, but I really do appreciate it, and we'll stay in touch. The story continues.
Anytime, Joey.
Thank you, sir. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Did you know that hundreds of independent pharmacies have already closed nationwide and Adams Drugs is fighting to keep our doors open? The issues are clear. Lack of accountability and transparency from drug manufacturers and insurance companies. We urgently need your help to ensure Adams Drugs and other independent pharmacies survive. Please contact your local and state representatives today and demand they support our fight to stay open. You can find their contact info at adamsdrugs.net. Thank you for your support. We look forward to serving you and your family for years to come.
Yes?
Howdy, ma'am. I'm Bill, the electrician.
Oh, hello, Bill. Say, I like your houndstooth hat. Bama fan?
Well, sorta.
Oh, you're also wearing a War Eagle sweatshirt and a Troy jacket.
Yeah, well, I grabbed a hot wire last week. Kinda scrambled my brain.
Electricity is nothing to trifle with. That's why you only want electricians who are safety conscious and code compliant, like the experts at Crosby Electric.
Okay, ma'am, you take this 2x4, and if you notice I ain't saying much, give me a good knock on the head.
What?
All Crosby Electric team members are trained to make safety our #1 priority, to avoid dangerous situations.
All ready to go, ma'am. Just have to connect this wire and... Oh.
Bill, are you okay?
Oh, yeah. Good as new.
Yeah, sure. Who's your favorite team?
Pistachio?
Don't take chances with electricity. Call the experts at Crosby Electric or visit us at crosbyelectric.com.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1, WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. This entire hour brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage, and they're at Alabama Home Mortgage. Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you with buying a home. Could be your first time buying, and you want to go with great folks that do the job right, folks you can trust who are local. Yes. Some of the lowest closing costs in the business because they don't have all the overhead the big banks do. They're just the best, and it doesn't have to be your first time. Again, for all those reasons, it could be, hey, I want to buy a place quick. Go with Alabama Home Mortgage. They're the gold standard. And, of course, they're helping a lot of folks with refinance deals. And it's not like when you call them today at 567-4223, which you should call them today.
Call them.
That you have to, like, pull the trigger on a refinance deal.
No, just get to know them.
Treat it like a planning session.
Yes.
Let them get to know you. Your goals in refinancing your home could be you're trying to deal with a debt situation, rearrange your finances. Could be you want to reinvest in yourself or your family or your property. That's Alabama Home Mortgage. Kim and Madeline are ready to help you. That number, 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can always visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. Termination.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies like Kim and Madeline proved that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. We don't have a lot of time here, and we're going to go into the next hour soon, but let's just say what we were saying off air.
I'm pissed.
Yeah.
This is infuriating. It makes me think.
Well, especially the more you get to know who that guy is. That's who
prince,
y'all fired in this way?
A prince of a man.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more ethical. All I could think about, this is all I could think about. Do we have a Joe Biden running this state where she has no idea what's really going on and she's letting her minions screw everything up?
Yes, did you hear my opening?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly as I was reading everything that's been reported this weekend. That's why I wrote what I wrote. Because exactly the same conclusion.
Because again, after meeting him, and now everyone knows him much better than you and I do. The people that fired him know him. How could they do that? How could you look that man in the eye who's dedicated his life to serving this country and then tell him, no, even though the board don't want you fired, we want you fired, so you're gone. You know, screw you.
And we're going to make a scene with police and media.
Yeah, yes, that's another thing. You sent cops to his house? That is so wrong. Call her up. Give that old bat hell. That's why you don't let somebody that can't drive a damn car run your state. That's why. Because the people underneath her will manipulate her, and there's no doubt that's what's happening.
Well said. We felt the same way.
Oh, it's just so...
You know, and again, I had read the stories. I kind of knew the story before he told it here today, but seeing him in person tell the story today, it just underlined that, yeah, there's probably a legal fight ahead. There's some clarification needed on supreme executive power, yada, yada, yada. But just on a human level, how can you treat people this way?
Well, here's the thing that'll happen, though. When the pushback comes, and it's coming, and the state of Alabama starts to get a little mud on their face, they'll quickly settle. I don't want them to settle. I hope he drives every one of them to hell, because they all deserve it.
We got to hit a top hour break.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, man. You're preaching. Like we're of the same exact mind right now.
You don't treat people that way.
I know. We'll be right back, folks.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Brazil is pushing for concerted action to alleviate hunger as it hosts the summit of the group of 20 leading economies. Suspected attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels have targeted a Panama flag bulk carrier traveling through the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. No damage or injuries were reported. Typhoon Manyi left at least 7 people dead in a landslide, destroyed houses, and displaced large numbers of villages before blowing back away from the northern Philippines, worsening the crisis racked by multiple back-to-back storms. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Manila, announcing an additional $1 million in humanitarian aid for those typhoon victims. This is SRN News.
And paid for by America First Tax Group. Attention, if you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-615-7541 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-615-7541. That's 800-615-7541. Again, 800-615-7541.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where over-the-road dump truck drivers are needed right now. Home twice a week and every weekend, must leave early on Sunday with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call them now at 855-777-9785.
Well, hi, everybody. We got a pretty good day in progress. Limited sunshine today, but rather comfortable again. High temperature up to about 77. Cloudy, but will be dry through the evening hours tonight. The rain moving in the overnight hours. Low temperature down to about 64. Kind of a stormy Tuesday and Tuesday night with periods of rain, risk of thunderstorms, marginal severe weather risk, locally heavy rainfall at times. A breezy day, high 71. So cold front number 1 brings the rain. Cold front number 2 arrives Wednesday afternoon, and behind that, some very chilly air. We'll be in the 30s Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, probably Saturday night as well, and high temperatures only in the 50s, upper 50s Thursday and Friday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey Publix.
Let's go right to the phones and talk to Michael Cohen from Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Hey, Michael, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Quite well, personally. A little worked up after that interview. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
Over there in the governor's mansion.
No doubt.
Anyway, what's the score there today at Cohen's?
35-7.
Oh.
I tell you, we got to be thankful. Got a couple in that we're helping them with the television. They live in Prattville. Their neighbors are the ones that actually recommended us.
Nice.
And, you know, all this advertising I pay you for, I can't buy the word of mouth. I mean, you two are good, but word of mouth always wins.
You're right, 100%, buddy.
And you know, we're just fortunate and blessed that we have those customers that are out there selling us to their friends and neighbors.
Yeah, it is beautiful how it really is a trend with y'all. It's a generational thing too. So it's not just friends, it's family saying you got to go to Cohen.
Right. And you know, and you know, we try to give everybody great service, and we want to take care of everybody. You know, that's why we've got our customer service people headed up by Catherine. And we're all, you know, everybody's trying to do the right thing for our customers, and you know, and it pays off.
There you go, folks. So if you want to check out Cohen's, you can always go to thinkcohens.com, but there's nothing like actually stopping by, seeing the great products they have, the electronics, the appliances. Like, how are you going to try out a massage chair looking at it online? You got to go in person.
Right.
But the best thing is you get to actually know Michael and the folks on the team there at Cohen's when you stop by 2515 Eastern Boulevard right here in Montgomery. They're open 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And when you do stop by, be sure to tell them, hey, I heard Michael on that radio show with Joey and Eddie.
That's right. We like hearing that.
Beautiful. Well, I appreciate it as always, Michael. We'll do this again soon.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
See you, buddy.
We'll be right back. What?
Nothing.
What?
I forgot to give him a big war eagle.
Don't be bragging about that win.
It's the only last one we're going to get, man.
Wait, we're not going to win the Iron Bowl?
The last one we're going to get, man.
You're pessimistic. Anyway, we'll be right back.
1819 News.
The newly elected Chief Justice to the Alabama Supreme Court has a plan to reduce recidivism of prisoners. Justice Sarah Stewart won the Chief Justice position this past November 5th after current seat holder Tom Parker was age restricted from seeking another term. Stewart now wants to create a branch within the judicial system that will work with the Alabama Bureau of Pardons and Paroles with initiatives and state-mandated programs to help an inmate avoid a return to criminal actions, especially after they've already served time for their original offense. Stewart's plan would involve accountability and intervention within cases of drug and mental health, as well as workforce development. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Shaver with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
The Alabama Fire College in Tuscaloosa has graduated 28 new recruits from their training program. The 10-week training was for both firefighters and paramedics. The recruits will now be sent to work in various communities throughout the state in order to receive more training before they are sent out on official emergency calls. Spirit Airlines has started out this week applying for bankruptcy protection in court. The U.S. airline has lost $2.5 billion since 2020 and has a debt payment of $1 billion. Customers can still continue to fly with the airline, and any tickets will be honored. The bankruptcy only allows for the business to refinance debt and restructure its operations to become more profitable. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Don't you love the feeling of coming home to a clean house? Let Southern Bell's cleaning service get your home in order. Families in the River region trust Southern Bell's because they know Callan and Jesse will show up on time and believe in cleaning the old-fashioned way. They bring all their own supplies and specialize in full-service, residential, commercial, vacant properties, and construction cleanup. Estimates are always free. Call Southern Bells today at 546-0715 or follow them on Facebook at Southern Bells Cleaning River Region.
Join us tomorrow from 11:30 to 12:30 at Ask Telemarketing on Carmichael Road in Montgomery for our annual holiday food drive. Drop off your non-perishable food donations to help feed families in need this holiday season.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is a Trump country. We live in the Southeast. We drink sweet tea. We don't drink socialist Kool-Aid.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Final hour of the program here on a Monday. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. We got a few folks holding, Eddie. I wonder if they share how we feel right now.
I hope so, but I believe they do, Joe.
Let's go to Charles the first. Hey, Charles.
Hi. Excellent that you, the interview and what all you said. It was very cathartic for me. Oh, and hello, guys.
Hey, buddy.
Having a good afternoon.
Yeah.
Remember what I told you. This has been going on throughout the history of Alabama, Joey, Eddie. Remember what I told you? 1989, my father was the enforcement director of the ABC. He went in with those busts, y'all, at 3 o'clock in the morning in Cullman and Birmingham and Tuscaloosa. And in doing so, he found an 8-track tape that implicated someone close to the governor, and the governor wanted that tape. And the governor tried to move my father. This in 9 months. In September, he would have got 25 years retirement, and moved him to where that could be taken from him, would be taken from him. And then he died in the helicopter crash where Governor Hunt put him to do work until, in a drug-related bust of 2 people in the process of where there was no National Transportation Safety Board, no Federal Aviation Administration, y'all.
Yeah.
So listening to him and thinking that something can be done through his court actions to stop this from occurring in the future. And y'all, if the ethics commission, whoever leads in these court proceedings, that needs to become known.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And here's the important thing. The Ethics Commission, with what was enacted in 2010, it let people be caught. It let them get caught. It let Hubbard go to jail. It let Bentley have to be removed from office, y'all. But they changed it in 2018 to their benefit, where legislators are the ones that appoint these people. So now a little leak can come through. Things can be done to keep anyone that is going to be doing something illegal in our government from getting caught if you scratch the right back and you're the one that appointed the person. And we need to stop this. We need him to run for office. We need someone to clean house of this stuff that's been going on that never stops. Again, in the future, we're going to see we want casinos and we want them our way, and we want to get money from the Fort Creek Indians, the BCA, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever it may be, AEA. Our structuring is going to be about what happens and what gets us in office and who we can give the campaign donations through a LLC or a nonprofit. But this needs to end. Yes. We need to see what has happened to this very upstanding man and know that this is what takes place throughout our government.
Well said.
Well said.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you for saying it. I'm sorry I got kind of over it.
No,
but you can.
You're good. You're good, brother.
Thank you, Charles. And UNC overheated. Let us keep talking.
Yeah. Imagine that happened to your dad. You said sit there and watch. Dude. Yeah.
Let's go to James. Hey, James.
Joey, you guys are doing a good job today. It's just in case we forget to put that in there. People that have something, those that have something, they don't care what you have. And your guest, the man's name escapes me.
Kent Davis.
Kent Davis.
Kent
Yes.
Davis?
Yes, sir.
Served 31 years, and he touched on one thing in particular about Alabama stats. In other words, where we are on the bottom, and we are on the bottom of most everything, and there is a reason we are on the bottom. It's because when somebody comes in and tries to make adjustments or changes or put grant money where grant money is supposed to go, others push back on that. They would rather we stay on the bottom because we go back to those people that have something. They don't care what you have. And that's why. I mean, am I making any sense at all?
No, you're making a lot.
You're
making a lot of sense.
Okay. So, like I said, you guys did an outstanding job today. That what he brought to light, and I know this has been in the media for some time now, but if he can be done the way he was done, what's to stop those people, the deep state or whoever they are, from treating me and you and the average Joe any way they wish?
There's nothing stopping. Happens every day.
Well said, James.
Guys, have a nice day.
You too, brother.
Later, son. 272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. Talk about salt of the earth. That's
Great
Pest Pro.
people.
That's Ashley. That's a great team she's put together.
Mhm.
And I love that they're a true small business success story.
Yes, they are.
Like they started like right after COVID or right around that time period, and they've grown so much they had to get a brand new location,
Bigger location, yeah.
hire more staff, and because I think it started with just Ashley and Zach.
Yeah.
I think it was just
For the
those
longest
two.
time, that's the two I knew. Yeah.
And so it's expanded and expanded. They've kept the service just fantastic. They're truly skilled professionals there that can help you with any and all of your pest control needs, whether it's an emergency job or you just want an everyday pest control company to do that sort of basic pest maintenance. That makes sense. And of course, they're also local folks. And when you spend money with Pest Pro Services, not only is the job going to get done well, you're going to keep that money here in the community.
Right here in the community, Joey.
So y'all check them out today. You can always call Pest Pro 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley, that great team, that Joey and Eddie, those fellas on the radio, sent you. Let's go to line one. You're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, it's Cranky.
Hey, Cranky.
Did you ever crack the code on who was behind all of this?
Honestly, no.
Pushing the man out the door. Bob Riley is, through Joe Bonner. Did you see how feeble Kay Ivey looked when she was signing that letter for Caroline Dobson? She could barely get through that letter. She's not running this state. She's not running this state.
I agree
with
that. 100%.
She's got bigger fish to fry than this. Bob Riley is still pushing the buttons in this state. And he will till he dies. And when he dies, just like in the communist dynasty over North Korea, Bob Riley will come along and take over. You know, that's it. That's it. The trailer park mafia is alive and well here in Alabama.
Well, I'm accepting all theories of who's actually behind the curtain.
Ridiculous.
Well, that's the man. That is the man. He's going to make you an offer that you can't understand, though. Unbelievable. Sad state of affairs. But that's okay. If you don't follow along with him, you'll wind up sleeping with the fishes, like a lot of other people. Ralph Stacy. Think about it for a minute. Y'all have a good week.
Thank you, Craigie. Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is Babs.
Hey, Babs.
I just want to thank you for letting that gentleman come on the air and explain and giving him time to explain what was going on. This is absolutely despicable and disgusting. And I'm hoping and praying that Governor Ivey or ever who is in charge. It's sad to think that we beat state in Alabama. But I hope it gets straightened out before it goes to court.
I think the only way it's going to get straightened out, Babs, is if people raise hell and call the governor's office. That's the only way.
Well,
that is the absolute only way.
I've already sent what did I send? An email. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you for giving him time. That's just sad situation in Alabama.
It's embarrassing.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you, Babs.
Thank you, Babs. Let's go to line 1 again. Hey, you're on there. Who's this?
Hey, Joey.
Hey.
Hey, buddy. I hope it's me, but buddy, I'm over here on West Ferry Road looking towards where the Harley Davidson shop is, and I ain't never seen so much flames go. I don't know. I don't have a way to pull it up on my phone. It's about, looks like around, man, I'm looking from over here about a half a mile, and I can still see flames. I don't know what it is. It's like off of the northern bypass, someplace in that direction.
And it's fire?
Heck yeah, man. That thing is, there's still a big plume of smoke. If you step outside the studio and look over toward the Harley shop, you'll see what I'm talking about.
It's kind of northeast from where we're... Yeah, okay.
Check it out. Let us know.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate the call, man. Where there's
Nothing
smoke, there's fire.
reported, yeah.
Well, if it's enough for him to call and be like, I hadn't seen anything like this. Yeah, if it's big enough, we'll see a smoke trail from our back porch here. But yeah, we need to move on to other topics because, don't want to beat a horse to death. A dead one to death. Though I'm also tempted, like Nietzsche, to go up and hug the horse while the other people are beating.
I'm just so infuriated by it because none of it makes any sense. And all they're going to do is hide behind, I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it. It's infuriating. Be a man. Come out and talk about it. Or be a real woman. Come out and talk about it. Lay out your fact. If you're so sure this guy did wrong, come lay out the facts.
Well, and if all you're finally hanging your hat on is you lost the confidence of the governor, why? If you're a real supreme executive with supreme executive power, stand in front of the camera and explain why you've lost confidence and show it to people. But I get tired of these folks who have a little bit of power, who have the voice of power, and they say the truth stops and ends with me. That's an abuse of authority. And it's an insult. It's a dishonor to the title that the people of this state gave you. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. See how we need to move on? Because daggum, man, this is, you don't treat people this way.
No, you don't. You don't. And it's especially cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows you guys have screwed up. So you can start crawdadding now and start trying to cover your tracks. But it would be more honorable of you just to come forward and say, you know what, we screwed the pooch on this one. Sorry.
272-9228. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, this is T. Spear.
Hey, T. Spear.
And as the daughter of a Navy veteran who relied on VA services for quite some time after when he was back home. I find what happened to this gentleman reprehensible. I was not able to hear all of his conversation. Will this be on your podcast for later on so that those of us who would like to go back through it and listen to this gentleman's situation, we can hear it again so that we can file our formal complaint with the individual who is supposed to be the governor of this state?
It's right now. You can go to Joey Clark Live on YouTube and watch it in full. It went the first 2 hours with a few breaks in there, but just Joey Clark Live on YouTube, and it'll be on our normal podcast. But I highly suggest watching so you can
really do
read the body language of Kent Davis, see his face, see how, at certain moments it gets, he's held back. He acted very professional, but some of this stuff gets to you, man. Like, it's emotional. It's just wrong what they did.
It got to me, and I was just listening on the radio. There is no excuse in the way that he was abused.
No.
There is no excuse in what has happened.
No.
I want to, we hired Kay Ivey because we thought she would be a good leader for this state. We wanted to give this state someone who is good, who is honest, and who would do the right thing for the state. But she has done absolutely nothing right for this state. Nothing. And this, quite frankly, is the icing on the cake. If there was a way that we could recall her, I would be happy to sign a recall for that.
Yep.
I am tired of seeing her do nothing for this state and do nothing for the people of this state. She is nothing but a damn Democrat in Republican clothing. And I don't care if her office is hearing it and wants to challenge it. Prove to me that you're not, Kay Ivey, because you have done nothing positive for the state. You're an embarrassment at this point in time. I'm sorry, guys. I am so livid with the way this gentleman has been treated that it is not even funny. And like I said, the VA did so much good for my father for so many years before he passed away. I cannot think more highly of them for what all they were able to do for him and what all they're able to do for many other veterans. But the way that they have pulled this stunt, they are not doing anything positive for the veterans, and they're not doing anything positive for the state. They need to step down. We have lost all confidence in our governor.
Yep.
And I'm sorry. Like I said, I am livid about this. Absolutely livid.
Well, I appreciate the call, T-Spirit, with the feeling is
Thanks,
mutual. Thank you. 272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by River Region Contracting. And there at River Region Contracting, Todd Clark and the team are ready to help you with that roof of yours.
That's right, Joey.
Be an asphalt or metal roof. You've actually had them work on both.
On both. They've done me right both times. In fact, I've recommended them. I don't know how many people, so many people now. Everybody always calls it back and thanks me.
Yeah.
And when they don't, I kind of get worried about it. But honestly, give them a day or two. Every single person I've ever recommended to them has called me back and thanked me. Because most of them did not know where to turn. They needed somewhere to turn. And these people actually took them, put their arms around them and said, I got you.
Again, that's River Region Contracting. They can help you with basic preventative maintenance by coming out and doing an inspection. And we've been saying do it every year. And folks are like, wait, I'm not made of money over here, Joey.
But it's free, Joey.
The inspections are always free.
Absolutely free.
And if they do find an issue, they'll write up an estimate for you for free. That estimate is accurate.
Yep.
They show up on time. They do the job well. They'll actually even educate you on here's exactly the problem, how we're exactly going to fix it. And they're a team of insurance specialists, so they can walk you through that insurance claim process and make it a swift and easy experience, which is not something you normally associate with insurance
Not
claims.
at all, Joey.
That's how good they are, that River Region Contracting. That's why Eddie keeps getting thanked.
I do. Every day.
So why not use them, be happy, then call us up and thank us again. That's River Region Contracting, 356-8635. That's 356-8635. And be sure to tell Todd Clark and the team there that Joey and Eddie, those fellas on the radio, sent you. Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, this is Sam calling from Pike
Hey,
County.
Sam.
I had two things came to mind. I'll be brief. First off, I was listening and I realized I've never doubted the man. And the man, to me, when I'm listening to him, it's like you said, it'd be good to see him. But I didn't have to see him, Joey. He's a former admiral, and what he was saying, I don't think he's throwing shade. But second, before I lose my breath, When Tim Walz first came out, I mentioned to you, you got to be careful. 20-something years in, you have a long military record, they get complicated. Well, this is what I was talking about. This what this man did, getting in and out, moving around. That's not uncommon. There's a lot of people that want to serve and find a way.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, anger. Don't feel your anger. But I wanted to share that, and I don't doubt. I just for some reason I believe him. So thank y'all.
Hey, thank you, Sam. Spread the word, brother.
272-9228. I mean, honestly, I'm looking at other events in the news, and I'm like, oh, we're back in cartoon land.
Oh, good Lord.
Back in Toontown. Like, for instance, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough went to bury the hatchet at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, I'd have buried the hatchet with him, all right.
And Mika was bleeding from her face.
Right.
I don't know if she just
I
had
don't know
work
what
done.
happened.
What is it?
I thought we were throwing axes.
RFK Jr. caught eating McDonald's on the plane with Donald Trump. There's all sorts of stuff. Like I'm just kind of scrolling through YouTube last night after writing my piece, trying to relax a little bit, and I see this like NBC News report that Pete Hegseth, he's being accused of rape, and I'm like,
of course,
really?
Yeah.
Who's buying this anymore? These same hit jobs that happen over and over again.
Nobody's buying it. You saw the ratings. No one's buying it, but they keep trying to sell the same crap.
But he paid a woman in a non-disclosure agreement, and of course now that's been broken, and his attorney's now saying it was a consensual affair. But he kind of wanted to not have it plastered everywhere. It's just amazing. Like, okay, we'll put this person up. And it's like, none of this is surprising.
Well, what kills
none
me,
of it is surprising whatsoever.
The people that the Democrats put up, if you remember, when Joe Biden became president, let's be honest, they were weirdos and freaks. I don't know. Remember the guy that was over the nuclear waste, that bald-headed freak that got caught
kept stealing women's luggage?
You're going to give the Republican Party crap for picking what I would consider somewhat normal human beings when you elect Levine?
Oh,
the man thing? Whatever that was? Go to hell.
And speaking of Joe Biden, he became the first president to visit the Amazon rainforest.
Huh?
Yeah.
You go do ayahuasca?
No, I don't think he did. But now he's coming back dark branded. I voted for Trump. Not a joke. Not a joke. But this clip's been making the rounds of Biden doing a press conference, and I'm like, at first I'm like, is this fake? Maybe it is fake. Maybe I've been fooled. I still don't believe it's real. Can you look up on your sources Joe Biden and the Amazon rainforest?
I read that this afternoon or yesterday, but I just assumed it was a parody.
I mean, here it is. And he's just leaving the podium, and you're like, where are you going, Joe? Where are you going, Joe?
That ayahuasca's kicking in on him, dude.
Where are you going, Joe?
Where's that straight line taking him?
Pop! Who gave pop uppers here in the Amazon rainforest?
It's like he's about to fall into the bushes, Joey. He's
Pop!
got that drunk walk where you just go in one direction.
Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., you're going to get eaten by an anaconda. What are you doing? No! Don't.
He's pulling Homer Simpson. He's just moving back into the woods there.
And I love that somebody has a shaker.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, he's got that drunk walk where you just lead in one direction and you can't go the other direction.
It's like, where are you going?
The path is to the left, Joe.
Yeah, don't go into the woods. Don't go off the beaten path. You're going to get eaten, man. A panther's going to get you.
Ayahuasca's a serious thing, Joey.
Yeah.
What's he doing over there anyway? Do you have any idea?
We need to look it up. I just saw that video and was like, I think he signed something, some effort to preserve the rainforest was a good thing.
I did see a story where he was, I forget where he was with a bunch of other world leaders, and he was relegated to the back row. Which...
Yeah, but they don't know I'm going to the rainforest tomorrow.
Maybe that's why he was put to the back row. He wouldn't quit telling them, I'm going to see the rainforest tomorrow.
Yeah, this is from NPR, Biden marks his climate legacy during Amazon visit, asserting nobody can reverse it. Oh, and by the way, at the same time, Biden, the Biden administration, Biden didn't do squat other than crap his pants, approved long-range ATACMS missiles to be used in Russia.
That makes me
so that's great. I mean,
kind of really bothers me just a bit because, like you said, it's not Biden. It's not Biden that signed that.
It's amazing how like Montgomery is such a microcosm of our national problem.
Big time.
Like, a lot of waste, a lot of things that you need a controlled demolition.
Things that
you need a wrecking ball.
Don't make sense at all, but we're doing it every day.
And you got somebody like the leader is not the leader.
Yeah.
The leader is the leader. It's governor in name only. Gyno Ivy.
Yeah. Where we're at.
Just like we got a president in name only. What a mess. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Oh, this is Crawdad.
Hey,
How are
Crawdad.
you?
How you doing, Crawdad?
I just turned on the TV and listening. He went down to Brazil, is this correct?
Yes.
He better watch out for those tree sloths down there, you know.
They move about the same speed.
Yeah.
Well, and the way he shuffles his feet is actually a mating call amongst the sloths. So.
My
I can see that.
It's terrible because the only real defense mechanism that tree sloth has is he waits until you in exactly the right place down under his tree, and he sends you a package at 30 per second squared, just like that. Now he could probably relate to that, you know.
He might fire back.
That yerba mate. That is the national drink down there. Plant is kin to something we have here, very high in caffeine. Anyway, check that out. Yerba, Y-E-R-B-A, mate, M-A-T-E. Natural caffeine like you wouldn't believe.
All right, then.
You don't need to ever dabble with that other stuff because you might see yourself and run.
Well, I appreciate the call, Crawdad.
Behave yourselves now, you hear?
See you, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, we can get a 12-pack off Amazon for $34.
Let me see it. I think I've had this stuff before. Yeah, I've had that stuff.
It looks like something I saw in a beer store.
It's all right. I've tried it. I didn't like it.
It wasn't a liquid trip in a can?
No.
But did it even taste good?
Not really. Like, it was fine.
Yeah, but
it was fruity. I felt fruity in that moment.
Yeah.
A little fat, a little gay. Steal a line from Mark Norman.
That's right. Love Mark Norman.
But how about this? We needed another break.
Thinking a little fat.
Somebody put, what is this, CBS?
Yes.
And so we're watching, what is this, Price is Right?
Look at this guy.
Talk about fat and gay. That guy's living his best life right now. Yes, Queen. Wayne Brady's even a cast.
Yes. I just happened to look up at the right time.
Yeah. Daytime TV still, these game shows, like, the tradition continues. Like, you know, legacy media's dying, but Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal, Wheel of Fortune, they're all going strong still.
Wheel of Fortune, big time. People fight over the Wheel of Fortune.
Remember when they tried to bring back the Gong Show with Mike Myers in full character as a guy named like Tommy Maitland, and he had a whole biography
it was so just over the top made up.
Yeah. No, but I liked Myers. Yeah, I thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it reminded me how much I love Austin Powers. But yeah, the actual contestants weren't as. But everybody was too in on the joke.
Yeah, I got to watch the Gong Show, so I kept thinking they were going to bring it back. Yeah. If they did, it'd be good.
Anyway, this part of the program brought to you by Clearwater. Is that AOC? Wait, no.
Looks like it.
It's more just me being racist. Sorry. Sometimes that slips out. This part of the program brought to you by Clearwater's Property Management. And there at Clearwater's, Reed Waters and the team are ready to help you with tree removal, tree trimming, and stump grinding.
Yeah, so you got that old stump that's laid in the yard.
It's ugly.
You're tired of dealing with it. You're tired of seeing it every day you come home.
It's just gross.
Give these guys a call. Matter of a couple of hours, you will not have a stump there anymore.
And then, of course, say you keep hitting like all these branches as you pull into the driveway.
That's so annoying.
Like scratching up that truck.
Scratching up your car. Yep.
Or maybe it's like slapping up against the siding of the house every time it gets windy. Or there's that one big branch overhanging the house. You're like, that doesn't look stable.
Yep.
Or it could be there's an entire tree that you're like, I don't think that looks stable.
Yeah.
Well, they can do full-on tree removal.
Yep.
They can do tree trimming, cutting back some of that overgrowth. Or maybe something already fell. And you can get that off your property.
Cleaned up.
So call them today. That number for Rewaters at Clearwater's Property Management is 430-0376. That's 430-0376. And be sure to tell them that Joey and Eddie, those fellas on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. For years, I've been asking you to call me at Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. When you call Alabama Home Mortgage, from the moment we pick up the phone, you will hear the difference. We are passionate about what we do. To us, you're not just another applicant. When you call on us, you are trusting that we have your best interest at heart, and we do. We treat our customers like family, and that's why our customers turn into family, coming back to us time and time again. We know you have many options when it comes to mortgage financing, and we appreciate the opportunity to earn your business. We are excited to hear from you. Give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time. Our passion is just one difference that sets us apart from the rest. It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586 368, Equal Housing Lender.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of H&H Carpets and stock specials on waterproof luxury vinyl plank and engineered hardwood flooring at blowout sale prices. H&H Carpet, across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. Big weather changes are coming up, but if you have plans for the evening hours tonight, I think we stay dry. The chance of showers begins in the overnight hours. Low temperature down to about 63. Then for tomorrow and tomorrow night, periods of showers, maybe some thunderstorms, locally heavy rainfall at times. High 71 for Tuesday. Wednesday, breezy and cooler behind the front. Sunshine, high near 70, down to about 40 on Wednesday night. Thursday's high only in the upper 50s. A brisk day and maybe some upper 30s by Thursday and Friday night. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Exciting times at Capital Tractor, your hometown Kubota dealer. John Bobo here. Construction is almost complete on our new Montgomery location, but until then, our moving sale continues with great Kubota deals. Don't miss it. Capital Tractor, Montgomery and Brundage.
Live local talk, the River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Jim. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Oh, I'm just doing fine, man.
Good to hear.
When every day's Saturday, that's always a good day. I know I hadn't been listening all day, but did y'all bring up Joe and Mika's little visit to Mar-a-Lago?
Just in passing, what is that?
They think that they are so great that they can go to, you know what I mean?
That was my thought,
I'm going
too,
to tell you
Jim.
what the story, yeah, they said, oh, we took the opportunity. No, Your boss has said, you get down there and kiss his butt or you're fired.
And kiss it good.
Because your show is in the crapper.
Yep.
You've got a 50% drop in viewership. And for them to, after calling him every vile thing in the book, and then going down, I'd like to have been there when he opened the front door.
Okay, if you were him, Jim, same situation. Do you even acknowledge them? Do you make them grovel just to tell them no?
I unleash the pit bulls.
Yes, unleash the hounds.
Out in the front.
Yeah, but he's got to at least peek his head in through the door and be like,
"You are a rude, terrible person."
Yes.
He could have pulled a Dan Aykroyd. Mika, you ignorant slut.
Yes, that'd have been a good one too.
But that's Trump. He knows he's the art of the deal.
Yeah.
He knows what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just knows how to use it. He's not going to be like that. He's not going to, especially after what happened to him with the assassin. He's not going to be vindictive like that. He knows he's got it right. Those two are so insignificant on what he's got planned to do for this country. And it is hilarious. And then to make it even worse, they get blasted by The View for doing that. I mean, it's just every day is getting better.
Well, I appreciate the call, Jim.
Hey, one more thing real quick, Joey. Let me ask you something real quick. I saw the story on 1819 News. What in the world is going on at Auburn University?
Oh, they're just
saw that story.
Yeah, they're looking for a guy who's well versed in all sorts of rhetorics.
Yeah. Versed in some other things too, but I mean seriously, you think that would be they've already got rid of DEI over there. Why do this?
Yeah, the headline at 1819 for folks who haven't seen it, Jim, is Auburn seeks to fill professor position with expertise in queer, trans, anti-racist rhetorics.
Why will you do that for a segment of the population that's less than probably 1%? Why you even do that? What is the significance of it? I just don't understand it. But
looks good on somebody's application is all I can figure.
Cultural rhetorics is a somewhat obscure field of study that is an offshoot of the larger academic rubric of critical theory. Stephen Malou, a chancellor professor of rhetoric at the University of California, Irvine, and researcher at the Critical Theory Institute, defines cultural rhetorics as, quote, the critical, pedagogical, historical, and theoretical consideration of the effects of trope, argument, and narrative in different cultures.
In other words, a bunch of crap.
Thank you.
But anyway, nothing can bother me because I'm just enjoying this unbelievable. It's going to be such a great holiday season.
Yes, it is.
Well, I appreciate it, Jim.
Take care, Jim.
All right, y'all have a good one.
You too, bro.
Based on what Jim brought up, I have a clip here, Eddie.
Yeah.
Of then and now. The then is Mika and Joe before the election.
Yep.
And then we'll get to the now. Let's listen into this.
And then he says that the news network that is most critical of him should be taken off the air.
Yes.
This is not a reach. I could go back and talk about Nazi Germany, and I do it without any concerns whatsoever. And if people can't start drawing the parallels, well, you're just stupid, or you have your head in the sand, or you're one of them.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard
So that was then. This is now.
Okay.
So many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade. that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United
God, these people are such fake a-holes.
Yes. We decided that our jobs are on the line. We're about to get thrown the hell out of here. We better do something. So we went down there hat in hand, but we told him we don't agree with him. And he told us, get the hell out. Of course he's going to deal with them. Because all he's going to do is make them look like schmucks from here on out. You got him under your thumb.
Yeah, he's going to pull a Mitt Romney.
Got him under your thumb, man. What can you do? You need me. I don't need you. Plus, I'm still curious about that dead person they found in Scarborough's office.
Now, that's just a conspiracy theory.
Did someone not?
Don't make me start throwing some...
You tell me. Did they not find a dead woman in his office? Do they have clear explanation of how this dead woman got in his office? Waiting for the answers.
Just saying, you keep going down this road.
Yeah.
I'm going to start throwing some rhetorics at you.
Joey, I'm not studied in the art of rhetoric.
Especially some queer trans rhetorics.
Oh.
Throwing them right in your face.
You got me. I'll calm down.
So don't go down that road anymore. You don't want me getting going with my rhetorics.
I don't. So let's just pretend I didn't go there. Pretend I didn't go.
I don't want to be throwing trope, argument, and narrative in your direction.
I'm biting my tongue, boss.
Don't let me get started on the anti-colonial rhetorics.
I cannot.
I could throw your way. I had so many rhetorics, you don't know what's going to hit you.
I don't need that in my life right now.
Then good. Then don't go down the conspiracy road.
What about innuendo?
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm always down for rumor and innuendo.
Okay, cool.
Just don't go full on conspiracy or the rhetorics is going to hit you.
Okay, I got you.
This part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health, and they're at Montgomery Men's Health. They're ready to help you fellas out. It's right there in the name, Montgomery Men's Health. And did you know that you should make it part of your annual routine to get basic testosterone and PSA check?
Honestly, I did not know that.
Annual part of your men's health routine.
I did not know that until I started to go see him.
Because there are a lot of guys walking around, they get into their 40s, 50s, and 60s and don't feel like they have that edge anymore.
Yeah.
But there are even a lot of young guys in their 20s, 30s that are feeling a bunch of old symptoms that could suggest low T.
That's right.
Things like lack of motivation, energy, and drive. You're just always tired, seeing a decrease in that sex drive too, loss of muscle mass, unwanted weight gain. Just feel like you're walking through your life in a fog. Well, you got to know, do I have low T? And the providers there at Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused workup plus a consultation for only $99. And they have low T treatments there at Montgomery Men's Health that can truly change men's lives. Men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym. Brother. That's right, brother. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, faster metabolism, and you usually even notice an increased libido. Yeah. Do it to it like lighter fluid, buddy, boys. And you can actually book the same day that you call. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
No one wants to wait on service for an overhead door. With 20 years in the industry, you now have access to the best with All Access Overhead Door. All Access Overhead Doors offers prompt professional service at affordable prices on all service and new garage doors for residential and commercial locations. All Access Overhead Door serves the river region and can take care of whatever you need when it comes to your overhead door. Remember, you have access to the best. All Access Overhead Door. Call and schedule an appointment today. 320-2440. And like them on Facebook. They sell the best and service the rest.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health.
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online, the River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228. And let's go to the phones and talk to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
I'm trying to type it. Put some back on Amazon. I hate this. Let me stop what I'm doing.
Ray?
How are y'all doing?
Yeah, we're great. We're not on Amazon.
Well, I had a customer that wanted a towel bar, and you go Prime, and they're going to be there the next day, right?
Right.
It shows up a week and a half later, and I end up having to buy it somewhere else to get the job done. Now I'm trying to figure out how to send them back, and I'm not good at all this stuff. Ooh. I don't know how Angie has an Amazon box every day at the house, and I can't figure it out.
It's easy to send back.
It's got to be a lady thing. Is it a lady thing?
Yes, it is. If you'll notice, a lot of ladies have an Amazon big box where the truck comes by and drops off several packages every day.
It's no way to talk about a lady. Look at her big box.
Well, it's bad whenever the UPS man shows up on a Saturday. I walk out and they say, "Hey, where's Angie?"
Yes, Ray. I know what you mean.
I'm like, she's inside. Do I need to get her? No, I'll see her Monday. But hey, look, we still have the food drive going on here, guys.
Excellent.
I think it goes on all week. The bucket's half full. So I implore you to please stop by with some thing to put in the bucket, fill out the for a free countertop while you're here. Look at the great sales we've got going on, and if you need a floor, call us 285-8117.
And be sure, folks, when you call 285-8117 to tell them, hey, I heard you, Ray, on the radio. I heard Ray on the radio with Joey and Eddie.
And I'm going to go back and try to figure out this Amazon Prime. I should just cut the whole thing off.
Good luck.
Good luck. You need a woman. You need a woman to help you, though, Ray.
Yeah, well, Greta just walked in, and she just opened my box up. I taped up. Yes. What are you doing?
No. See you, Ray.
Take care, Ray.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's go to the phones and talk to Duke. Duke,
what's up with you, brother man?
Now, Mr. Joe, I don't appreciate the way you're trying to handle Eddie a little while ago, raising your voice Eddie where you was.
Oh, I'll bring up rhetorics with you too, sir.
Now, son, see, you all juiced up because that little young white boy woke up on this little old black dude named Mike Tyson. See,
I wanted Tyson to win. Stop being so racist.
Don't get your ass whipped behind that. Don't get your ass whipped behind that now, because you juiced up because the young boy with the older guy.
No, like I wanted Tyson to win. Don't be so racist.
No, you want the
man.
younger guy to win.
No, I didn't. I didn't want Jake Paul to win. I wanted Tyson to whoop him.
Guy to win. You young guys want to stick together.
Man, that's it. You're doing me wrong, Duke. You're doing me wrong.
Joey ain't that young, Duke.
I did hear you raise your voice at Eddie the way you did. I think there was you stuck behind that. That's the reason I kind of wanted to.
Well, he was going down a road I didn't want him to go down. I was doing it for his own good.
You did warn me. You didn't want to go down that road.
And I'll throw some rhetorics at you too.
Well, the graveyard ain't full yet, though. Yeah.
By the way, what did you think of Mike Tyson like mooning the entire country right before the fight.
Mike didn't want a few dollars in his pocket, boy. He wanted a few dollars in his pocket. Hey, I don't blame him.
That was funny. I mean, and that's the one thing everybody noticed. More than Tyson lost, everybody's. Did you see his butt?
I just started thinking of like, is it Marcel's wallet? What is this?
All right, man. Oh, boy.
Love you, dude. Yeah, that was whatever. Not many people really cared to talk about the loss as much. Did you see him? Did you see his butt?
He had it all hanging out.
And then somebody sent me a picture of him next to Shrek. Not that far off, man. Not that far off. It's tough. But I'm very proud that Mike did not get knocked out. And
yeah, me too.
And I'm kind of thinking my man ran a scam on us. I'm okay.
Yeah, that as well.
I'm okay with that. He got 20 million.
Iron Mike will always be his, but he was no Iron Mike that night.
No.
Like, he's kind of a shadow of his past self, but I mean, that's the deal. That's the thing time does to everybody.
Agreed. But I think he ran a bigger scam on us. I think he could have been better. And for whatever reason, he just chose not to.
It was work, brother.
I think it was, Joey.
Y'all are a bunch of marks.
Yep.
Watching your Netflix that didn't even have the bandwidth to show the whole freaking fight.
Was awful, man.
Yeah.
That was awful.
See, I didn't watch live, so I got to see it in
That's
full,
why I went back
especially the mooning in full living color.
Did you rewind?
Like, man, I got to work on my leg there.
You don't be that guy, Joey.
Anyway, great show, Eddie.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was great.
Y'all stay tuned. Happy Hour with Greg Budell. He's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.